so we're going to get started. I will call to order this Board of Selectmen meeting for the Wednesday, December 10th. It is 5 o'clock. I'd like to start off by recognizing David and Sheila, as this is your last meeting for your term. And before we begin, I wanted to just take a moment to recognize the two of you who will be concluding your service here. David, thank you for your thoughtful service over the past 4 years. Certainly, you brought some candor and a genuine desire to do what was best for Woodbridge. Even when we did see things differently, you always approached the work with a willingness to engage and listen, and I'm very grateful for that. And Sheila, your service to the town spans for decades and certainly has touched nearly every corner of our community. Your deep knowledge of Woodbridge, your steady commitment, and your countless hours that you've devoted have made a real and lasting impact. I appreciate your dedication. And I understand that this past term hasn't been completely without challenges, and we certainly had moments of disagreement. But please know that I respect both of you, and I know that each of you was guided by a sincere commitment to Woodbridge. Our town is stronger when people care as deeply as you do. To both of you, thank you. Thank you for your time, your perspective, your willingness to do the hard work, and your service to the residents of Woodbridge. I wish you both the very best, and Woodbridge benefits when people with dedication continue to share their experience and talents. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm going to try not to have a Cheshire cat smile through the entire meeting. But
And I can understand that.
yeah.
I also wanted to just recognize that and make sure everyone is aware that recently we selected a new deputy police chief. His name is Raymond Quinn. Swearing-in ceremony will take place on Monday, December 15th. I believe Deputy Chief Quinn is from the Hamden Police Department with quite considerable experience. And I've yet to meet him personally. I've met him, I shouldn't say that, I did meet him briefly when we had the swearing in for our new police chief, Chief Smith, but I've yet to meet him in his official capacity. And as I say, it'll be 10 a.m. on the 15th will be his swearing in. I wanted to bring up, as requested, there's a beach treatment for forest resiliency. There's tree and trail work related to the Woodbridge Parks Association, beach tree treatment being completed on the Alice Newton Trail. It's funded through a Climate Smart Stewardship Grant received from the Connecticut Land Conservation Council to experimentally treat diseased beach trees and to promote forest health, resilience, and climate change mitigation. There will be on Saturday, this Saturday.
No, it passed.
Oh, it's 6. Oh, I'm
That's
so
okay.
sorry.
No, that's
I'm
okay.
so sorry.
But I appreciate
So,
you including it. We did have good attendance.
Yep.
And we'll host another in the spring. So we'll.
Awesome.
We'll,
Well, I apologize we didn't get it sooner, and thank you very
That's
much
okay.
for
Yeah.
bringing it aboard.
Yeah.
And I also wanted to bring up, as we've discussed a number of times at our meetings, the recent housing legislation. It is something that we are intending to bring a resource in specifically to discuss that with the new Board of Selectmen coming into next month, or if from a scheduling standpoint it doesn't work, very shortly thereafter. And it is, as I say, we'll be bringing in a resource so that we can ask some questions in addition to obviously reading what we read, and there's quite a bit to be read. That's somebody who can provide us some perspective as it relates to smaller towns like ours. So that's something that we will take up going forward. With that, we'll move on to our next item on the agenda, although I'm not seeing.
Well, Amika, just quickly, what in particular do you want us to read in advance of that?
There was some,
Oh, I found the summary. I was
Thank
looking
you.
for the legislative summary. It's in your packet.
yeah.
Okay, that was added about an hour ago.
HBO was added
Okay.
for you guys to just read and
In
like look.
preparation.
I was trying to find multiple summaries. This was the legislative research one in particular. So I
Okay.
let him know that I was going to make sure to get it to you guys
Okay.
as soon as possible, so you can have an overview of the bill and then prepare yourself
Thank
for that. Yeah.
Would that be potentially at that first meeting in January?
It may be our second January meeting, which will be the week following, which would, if I'm not mistaken, is the 12th.
It'll give us a little more time with
Right.
the holidays.
Right.
Mika, could I make a motion to add something to the agenda, to amend the agenda? As we've discussed kind of privately and publicly, about our town planner. I would like to be introduced and get a better sense of who this person is and hopefully foster a more meaningful working relationship than our previous town planner. So I just like the opportunity to discuss our intention with when we're going to meet the town planner and what we can do, if anything, moving forward to instill trust and a better working relationship.
Being the timeframes that it was, I felt it was best to introduce the new town planner rather than doing it twice, to introduce him to the new board. So
Okay.
it will be on the agenda for the 12th.
Okay.
His
Okay.
introduction and
And then we
their
can discuss
participation.
things then.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Next item on the agenda is
Did you
the,
still want to add that there was a motion?
Oh, yeah, so let's negate that motion,
got it,
but somewhat similar to that motion.
okay?
To my understanding, the POCD was approved.
Yes,
So perhaps we can amend our motion to discuss that, like when we'll see the final draft, what edits, if any, were incorporated from our feedback, and just have a follow-up
also on the agenda for
for
January
January.
12th.
Okay.
Correct. Correct.
Okay. Thank
All
you.
right, you're welcome. Next item on the agenda is Regional Performance Incentive Program. It's cybersecurity grant is what we're up next. So I'd like to introduce our Carl Fasano, and thank you, Rocky. Thank you. Just come on up. Tony, do you want to give us any background on this at all?
Certainly. So we've used the grant previously to conduct a analysis of our network for all three of our networks, and that was also done by the same firm. They came back with recommendations, and so we have some experience with the firm and with this grant. It's run through the COG, and it's so that's.
So with that, I will, presentation is, I believe, in your packets as well as here.
Thank you all so much. My name is Carl Fazina.
And I'm Rocky Bragg.
We're from Novus Insight. Novus Insight is a technology services firm in Connecticut. Been operating since 2010 as the originally as the IT department in the Connecticut Center for Advanced Technology, a 501c3 nonprofit. And through that start, we worked with many towns throughout Connecticut, K-12 school districts, nonprofits, and our original mission was to serve the technology needs of these mission-focused organizations. We grew in that mission over time, got too big for the nonprofit, and had to spin out. So we are formally, officially a for-profit company as of 2017, 2018, I believe. We have just over 70 staff that serve our clients in Connecticut, and we're actually doing quite a bit of work on the Eastern Seaboard, different states. Florida, we have an office now. And we still principally focus on mission-focused organizations, municipalities, K-12 school districts, and nonprofits. One of the things that emerged probably within the last 8 years was the necessity to address one of the big challenges, which was cybersecurity, right? The emergence of nation-state actors aggressively and actively attacking municipalities, what they consider low-hanging fruit, unprotected organizations or less protected organizations. Really shook us up because these are the organizations that we serve, and was a wake-up call. And so we developed a cybersecurity group within our firm to address those needs specifically. What emerged was a lot of conversations with the COGs that we work with. We are the partner of the Capital Region Council of Governments, COST, and the Purchasing Council, and we are their official sort of blessed IT department, if you will. And so we provide services through that. And through that, we were talking with, at the time, Carl Amento at Scrog, and saying, you know, we think, coming out of a nonprofit, we think regionally. We think about the fact that technology can be deployed in ways to help regions, and that's a little harder sometimes sharing other services because, you know, people get a little territorial, town to town, whatever. But technology, everybody's sort of like, yeah, why not? Bits and bytes don't hurt, let's do it. And so we worked with the South Central Regional Council to apply for an RPIP grant to address the programmatically cybersecurity in the region. And we were awarded that together, right? We all succeeded, and through that program, we did the assessment of the municipality, and we're able to note a number of opportunities. You guys are working with a really solid group in Vancourt. They provide day-to-day IT services. The reality is that when we're looking at the threats out there, these are literally nation states, as we know, and it's impossible for any one person, any one team to do it all, to know it all. So it is universally acknowledged that this is not a sprint, this is a marathon, and we really appreciate the town's commitment towards that end. And with the state's granting of the RPIP funds, it means that any of the initiatives that we pursue together towards maturing the cybersecurity of the municipality are going to be available at 50% off, right? So the state is half in on anything that we do together, and they were with the assessment. So we're excited about that. And what we're proposing here, I'll just briefly touch upon our methodology. So overall, we don't just look at cybersecurity, right? We don't just look and say, okay, there are gaps, there are concerns that we have here, here, and here. We look holistically at a municipality and we say there needs to be the consideration for reliability of systems. There needs to be the consideration of the usability of systems, because if users aren't happy, if users are negatively impacted, then they're going to find ways around. They're going to kind of do it their own way. They're going to say, look, I know that's the official way, but this Novus Insight company came in and they made us change everything, and now it's just easier if I just email it to myself and I work offline, right? So usability is important in security, and it's important because the town's business is not just cybersecurity. The town's business is to serve the citizens. And if we make that impossible through our efforts, then we failed. Even if you're secure, if the systems aren't usable, it's a failure. Obviously, security is within our methodology because it is so critical. Compliance reasons, right? It's really important. And then the final one, because again, we serve and focus on serving mission-focused organizations, sustainability. If you were a bank, it's a different conversation, right? The funding is different. You work the way that municipalities work. You need to have predictable budgets. You need to have sustainable budgets. And that is critical, not just for your day-to-day operations, but also for security. So any recommendations that we make regarding security will, of course, address the sustainability of those recommendations. How can this conceivably be funded going forward? And if it can't, then we know that we need to make adjustments and make alternate recommendations for a municipality. So that was briefly about our methodology. Talk about just the costs of what we're talking about. So this is modeled using a technology called Threat Captain. Threat Captain looks at lots of different data, and it basically says, based on real world averages and real world situations, this type of organization, this many records lost or breached, what is the actual cost? I tend to discount or ignore the service disruption component. Just for, in this instance, 1,000 records is estimated or modeled to be about a $500,000 impact. There isn't a municipality in the state of Connecticut that doesn't have many times that number of records. And when we're dealing with cities, it's hundreds of thousands or millions of records, potentially, certainly at the state level. And so those numbers are inclusive of 4 categories: service disruption, which, again, I tend to discount that number, so we can just ignore it for the most part. How do you quantify that for a municipality? Certain services are incredibly critical. They can't be down for a second, and other services, maybe it's seasonal, not such a big deal. So we'll take that number out. But when we look at detection and escalation, notification, and then ex post the breach cost, you're looking at easily close to $300,000 for just 1,000 records. So the order of magnitude of the problem that we're trying to address when we pursue better cybersecurity hygiene, when we pursue a better cybersecurity program for the town, is one that's ultimately looking at reducing or eliminating the very significant risks of a breach. and your peer communities have had incidences, New Haven, North Haven. These things they're happening all over, and the costs are staggering. So we want to pursue reducing that risk. If we can't eliminate it ultimately, but we can reduce it through a maturity program. So that's really what we're talking about. I'm going to turn it over to Rocky to talk more specifically about a virtual chief information security officer role. And we're proposing it in two forms. First, in this instance, is as a project to get up to speed and to develop a plan so that it can ultimately be deployed as almost a program and a role that is more ongoing, more long-term. All of the recommendations, both facets of it, both the project facet of it and then the more long-term role, which we're not going to specify here and we'll explain why, are all eligible under the RPIP grant, are all available at that 50% state-funded line. And I'll let Rocky talk about the project.
So just to provide a little context, when we did the security assessment, it wasn't necessarily just a very tech focus. It's a very business process driven security assessment. So we met with the fire department, the police department, every single department within the town. And really the goal is to understand how they work, how they handle data, what their business process is, and identify risks and gaps within that. So we're not just looking at technology here. So I just want to set that context up. But why the VC? So, well, like any security assessment, right, where we find gaps and risks. This isn't something, unique to Woodbridge. We've worked with many municipalities. A lot of them have cybersecurity risks, even outside the municipal space. Every organization is going to have cybersecurity risk, even very large orgs. So, we have this backlog of, tasks and objectives that we need to ultimately reduce that risk of, right? So as Carl kind of showed in that slide deck there, the financial impact is one piece of it, but we also want to limit that operational impact, right? If a cybersecurity incident happens, right? That can affect operations of the town, serving the public. There's that reputational impact, right? That can have an effect too. And even looking at the financial impact piece, you may say, well, we have cyber insurance that will kind of offset that risk. Well, there's still premiums and deductibles that are associated with that insurance, and that will also, if you make a claim, right, increase subsequent year costs. So really, this VCISO piece is to basically develop a strategic roadmap of these findings that came out of the assessment. And make a prioritization, what needs to be done first, kind of what are those low-hanging fruits, and really work with the town to understand, what are their resourcing capabilities to move some of these pieces forward, and have some of that guiding kind of principle to go with it. A lot of this stuff that needs to be remediated is very process-based. The town of Woodbridge has a lot of great technical pieces in place right now with Vancord. But the problem is a lot of these things that are gaps are processes or things that would fall out of scope from Vancord's kind of current scope of work, right? They're more of a higher level security strategic direction piece. So that's why that kind of gap is there, right? No one is really owning cybersecurity at a high level within the town and steering that direction. So that's where this kind of VCISO piece comes in, of taking these findings from the assessment, helping the town prioritize and make an actionable roadmap, what makes sense from a financial standpoint, right? There is financial investment, there's resource at labor hours from individuals in the town, right? Creating that balance and, taking risk in account in doing that, and creating a multi-year plan to remediate those risks, fill those gaps, and ultimately, right, shrink that exposure that the town is currently facing. So that is kind of how that time would be used, as creating that roadmap, working with the town. But also as part of that is, making sure these priorities are aligning with municipal goals. There's really a changing landscape out there from CGIS compliance standpoints, right? CGIS requirements are changing constantly. Even cyber insurance requirements, right? What is minimum to even be able to purchase cyber insurance these days is changing, constantly. So in order to even get cyber insurance, you need that baseline level of thing. So we want to take all that into account and see, what is the correct order to put these things into place. And really the other piece of this is determining, what the town's capacity is from an internal standpoint for a reoccurring engagement, right? So, someone like Novus coming into the town, we can't just, come in and run this VCSO piece. We have to work with the various individuals from the departments, stakeholders within the town to help make these decisions. So we can help inform, but it has to be a collaborative discussion, and we really need that input. We can guide on what the process should be, but we also ultimately need resources from the town to help implement the processes. And then really any leftover time from that piece with this initial block of hours, really we're proposing to just kind of get started on some of the remediation, really focusing just on some policy procedure things, which are kind of the low-hanging fruit, but really the foundational, right? Those policies of acceptable use of technology, how to respond to an incident, how you're managing your third-party vendors, having those as our baseline pieces and build on top of that. So any hours left over from kind of doing that initial roadmap and strategic planning, our proposal is to kind of use those to kind of hit the ground running and do some work. So,
Want to go forward?
yeah, please. So just what the deliverables would be out of that would be that strategic roadmap of really, what are the next steps, priority areas, what those engagement options would be. It would also be providing guidance of how we can best leverage RPIP, right, going forward, right? This is a big cost savings, being able to leverage this 50% off. So how can we take advantage of that in the remaining time in this grant and, make it incentivized, to the town, but also during that process, reduce risk. So it can be a win-win. We have a couple other towns that are taking, a lot of advantage of RPIP right now, making some drastic change in the environment. So it's great to see some of the municipalities be able to leverage that and reduce risk, improve, their technology and security footprint at the same time. And as I mentioned, if there's any additional time, we would get started on some of those policy procedure work and kind of work with the town, get the input on current processes and kind of what best practices are. And just any templates that we can have and documentation that we could have to facilitate some of these, we're happy to share some of this as well as during this process. So that's kind of what the deliverables are. And then the second piece of that, as we mentioned before, is understanding, through this short-term engagement, what the town's capacity is to, move with someone in a VCSO position, so that we could make a proposal of, what that would look like in the new year or future engagement if you were going to leverage RPIP for that service. Is it 12 hours a month? Is it 18? We want to make sure we right-size that, so we're being efficient with the time and being able to move at a steady and reasonable speed, and at a speed where it's not introducing too much change at one time within the town, but at the same point not leaving too much risk open to be exploited. So that is kind of what the VCSO proposal is for the engagement.
I'm gonna clip forward. So the 60 hours at the rate of, I think it's 265, which is our tier 5 rate, which is a negotiated RFP blessed rate, is a total of $15,900. The state is paying $7,950 of that, and then the town would be paying the remaining $7,950 for that. And that is it. Questions, concerns, thoughts?
I have a question on the municipality and who are we designating as our IT contact person and what staff involvement needs to happen with this project?
So from this point, Karen and I have been the contacts. So we're hopeful to find out from this process what exactly is required and how we can sort of redefine that role.
Okay.
The expertise is Vancourt, and our contacts are, we don't have an IT individual in the police department. We've also have resources because they have separate software and things of that nature that need to be considered.
Right.
But from a working perspective, operationally, Tony and Karen are the ones who
The police department has a part-time
individual,
that's
right.
Okay, so it would take some of their
Yes.
time as well.
Yes.
And does this include the library, human services?
Yes.
It does, and
Yes,
does
fire.
Woodbridge School District?
No.
No.
Okay.
Wait, so Tony and Karen are responsible for IT in Woodbridge?
Tony and
Administration.
responsibles are administratively are the contacts for IT in Woodbridge.
But who does the technical support? You said
Van Court.
Van Court.
So, but they're on call or?
We have
okay.
a retainer agreement with them
Okay.
as a resource.
And so this is ostensibly a planning project to identify areas of concern. And then the thought would be, and the timeline is a question mark for me, but the thought would be once the deliverable is produced, who's addressing the issues?
We'd be able to better identify that once we get the deliverable and what the recommendations are and how much time is required, and if we can leverage the grant to help with that.
How long is
The
the
pro-
grant?
March 2028.
And how long is this project?
This is, did we say 12 weeks?
12 weeks.
About 12
Oh,
weeks.
I'm sorry. I do see that right here. Okay.
Always good to check.
And you're, okay.
I had some questions about how this might line up with our budget cycle going forward, because I think you've identified that
Yeah.
we probably don't need a bunch of recommendations that we cannot then sustain, right? So you mentioned the sustainability piece. 12 weeks will get us through to the end of our budget cycle, but is there an opportunity to maybe front-load some of the recommendations and some sense of how to add this to existing workload?
Yes.
Hopefully without increasing the number of people employed, because we have challenges.
The very first thing, you know, there's no secret or surprise. Every municipality is struggling right now with cybersecurity to some extent. AI, how to deal with AI. AI policy is a really important, good place to start.
Well, how to take advantage of AI, right?
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Absolutely, responsibly, ethically, et cetera. And so the policy piece of that is great, right? And so that's right off the bat something that we hopefully can get started even within the first part of the project without necessarily involving additional budget or additional time after that. So if we can get that started, that would be ideal. And there are other, as Rocky said, other low-hanging fruit that we can look at and make you immediately aware of, and start that ordering and prioritization as quickly as possible, because we're already into budget right now, and we don't want to miss that opportunity.
Right.
If there are items that, you know, make sense for July 1st, then let's make you aware of that immediately.
And I think I heard you say that through 2028, the funding from the state continues?
March 2028, which is not exactly ideal because it leaves April, May, and June, but it is. We didn't create the timeline, unfortunately, but that is the timeline. Yeah.
But it's limited for the state, so whatever we take on in the sustainability piece of this, what we take on here in the town, we may get some defrayed cost on the planning piece, but not on the sustain it later
Yeah,
piece.
it's not the holidays. It's not a vacation. It's not a time to be, and who's really interested in going all in on this anyways. But the reality is that we have to make recommendations, and you have to agree. We all have to agree that what we're doing is worth it, because there is an offset initially, and then the offset goes away, and it has to be worth it.
Right.
And it has to be sustainable.
So towards that end, we talked about the school district, but covering the school district's needs would be a big advantage for our approach, I would think, from the town side of things. And I know we had an arrangement with the Amity School District to use their technology staff. They have some high-level staff over there, but that has gone away, and we don't interface with the Amity District. But I would think it would be more cost-effective the bigger the pool we're going to cover with this set of recommendations and study. And
Yeah.
so is it possible to go and talk with Beecher and Amity and give us that recommendation, or?
So one of the things that I could, we want to be respectful of the grant, the spirit of the grant. On the other hand, there's this thing where in a VCISO role, we're trying to leverage as many resources as we can. And so if there are town resources, if there are school resources, to me it would make sense to do some joint conversations, joint planning, and to see what opportunities there were to leverage. You know, we're big on regional. Well,
Right.
this is even within the town, it makes sense. If there are resources that we can cross-pollinate, let's make those recommendations, or at least explore that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because is our cybersecurity also with Beecher? Is our policy just for the town?
For cybersecurity.
Yeah.
So the policies that we're going to create would be for the town.
No, I mean our
It's-
insurance policy.
Oh, insurance, yeah, it's for both.
It's for both, so,
Right.
We've,
It makes
and we've
sense
had
to have
conversations with Beecher, it's very specific to
school needs.
optimization, but an optimization in terms of sharing services, things of that nature. It's something we continue to talk about. In this particular instance, obviously, there's we're looking at our world, our municipal, our town hall, our town resources in terms of what we're specifically geared toward, what these numbers and what this particular project is geared toward. It's not to say we can't do something with them as well, but it's, this particular project is geared toward what's the town resources. And when I say that, I mean the equipment, the network and things that go along with that.
Yeah, I certainly wouldn't want to see the school pursuing another set of recommendations and then they clash in between the two, so.
There's,
They must be pursuing something.
Have we ever had a breach? I don't know
Yes.
what you would call this.
Yes.
And how much did it cost us?
Probably, there was insurance, but the total cost was probably over 100,000.
And other
Wow.
municipalities have had to pay ransom.
Right,
We
there's,
didn't lose any data. It was just a
Yeah,
breach,
we can't afford to have this happen.
Which,
which is,
I'm sure these gentlemen can tell you some of the numbers associated with breaches in other communities that are staggering.
it's not great that there are nation states that are behind it. It's not great that there are criminal cabals sponsored by nation states that are behind it. It's not great that they perceive the mission-focused organizations that we serve, that you are, as a municipality, as easy targets, because the banks and Lockheed Martin are not easy targets. They're hard targets. So they've transitioned over the last 10 years from the hard targets to the easy targets. And it's unfortunate, and it is the reality. The key, though, is, again, moving forward. How do we move forward in ways that are responsible to budgets, responsible to staff? We have to be sensitive to the fact that you can't just say to somebody, hey, for every hour of work you're going to do, you have to do 2 hours of security work to ensure that your 1 hour of productive work is secure, right? We have to put systems in place, and we have to put processes in place that integrate security in seamless, visible ways. And that's ultimately why the planning process is so critical and the buy-in is so critical.
I just want to comment, that was many years ago that happened.
Okay.
And we've done a lot of improvements since then.
Mhm.
And I can just tell you, at the time, it's, aside from the cost, the disruption is just staggeringly difficult to everybody involved.
the other piece I just want to tie this all back to, and these gaps ultimately impact, at the end of the day, our business obligations. So we're talking about CJIS compliance, we're talking about protection of resident information, we're talking about protection of employee information, FOIA requests, be able to meet these types of things, right? Well, there's obligations around insurance, notification for the state attorney general for reporting cybersecurity incidents that breach PII in a certain amount of time, right? If we can't meet these business obligations, there's downstream impact of all of those things. That's ultimately what we're trying to limit, right? Is that risk of impacting business obligations, and what can that have to the town? Well, operational, reputational, financial impact. And a lot of these things from a gap standpoint are process things, right? How do we ensure that we have the policies and procedures, vendor management, incident response plans, things along these lines to make sure that we can meet our business obligations, right? And ultimately lower that risk that the town can have. As we've mentioned many times, there's the technical risk is minimal. This risk is business process related, operational risk that needs to be solved for. And that's when we need those individuals and stakeholders from the town to help inform those processes. How do we refine incident response that collaboration and communication with the police department, onboarding processes, records retention, all of these types of things. These are the types of gaps that we're trying to ultimately create a strategic roadmap from a resource perspective of labor hours, but financial, to understand what is it going to take to remediate these risks and ultimately reduce the footprint of risk within the town.
In your professional opinion, how long would that roadmap be viable for? So let's say we don't have the budget to implement or address things identified in the roadmap immediately.
Sure.
Is it outdated in a year? Is it outdated in 2 years? Or like, with how quickly things evolve, as
Sure.
you mentioned earlier?
So the deficiencies, the roadmap is going to be good for a set amount of time. The order that we put in based on what we know right now, right? When we did the assessment last year, that order is not going to change, right? We're going to be prioritizing those based on risk, level of effort to implement, cost to implement, those types of things. Impact to the town as a whole if those are not implemented, right? Going back to those business obligations. The unknown is what other risks are going to emerge during that time frame, because we don't have these processes and plans in place that we don't account for. So we have a roadmap that we made based off of our discovery a year ago. Well, if we start that 2 years ago, what else has emerged from a risk standpoint of, is someone starting a new business process and they're doing something insecurely? Was there a new CGIS requirement set out that we're not meeting now because no one's really overseeing the CGIS compliance standpoint? Well, now the roadmap is kind of not really the same, right? We can't account for those things. So that's what makes it a little difficult. As it sits, the roadmap, would still be valid, but it's these unknowns that are going to emerge, and the risks are constantly emerging. Even though we put in plans, I think the AI is a great example. That's something within the last year or two. It's just another risk that came in, right? So we need to have a plan and a process ultimately to just reduce that risk. And there's always going to be some risk. We just want to get it to an acceptable level.
So I have two process questions. So
Sure.
if we act tonight, this also goes to the Board of Finance because this is like a request, or?
So, based on the initial request, I'm hopeful to have that in our budget. So I'm not sure if funding request is required.
Oh,
at this
so
point.
You're
Yeah, you
hopeful
might
to
have it
have
within-
this amount, the
Yes,
7,000
yes,
and
I believe
change?
we have that in
Okay.
our budget.
So it's just us making a decision.
Correct.
And I agree wholeheartedly that it looks like we need this kind of study so that we can lay out the next steps. I guess the other comment I would make is I know many years ago we had a committee. I think there are individuals in our town who might be able to help on a volunteer basis, maybe a task force of some sort, to give some thoughts about how to take your report and then make it viable and sustainable in the town. Because that's a big lift for our staff, and we don't have any kind of committee that works on that at all. And I wouldn't put that on the Board of Selectmen, but maybe some kind of task force of community members who might be out there listening right now and want to volunteer. Looking at the camera over your shoulder.
We've actually reached out to some individuals with those types
Yeah.
of qualifications to do something similar to what we did with the building officers, see if they can, on a volunteer basis.
Yeah, we did that when we were establishing the
offer some-
That'd be
website
very
back
helpful, yeah.
25 years ago. Oh,
Yeah.
terrific.
Going back to the question about the school district, and what would be the process, or how could we get them in under these type of services, or do they have their own contract?
I can't say that they have, I can't speak to whether they have their own contract for this type of service specifically, Maria. This is being offered to the town, and the grant is available to the town.
We tried.
Right,
We tried. We
so.
were told
Okay.
no. No, we were told no on the K through 12 side. Initially, hopefully nobody from the state's watching. Initially, we were told K through 12 and municipal.
Okay.
We were very excited, and then once it was awarded and we got clarification, it was not K through 12. And
Okay, that's clarification, thank you.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure we're taking advantage of economies of scale and getting everything under
Right,
that we
'cause
can.
we were originally going to possibly do the assessment,
Okay,
but we found out that the school would not be part of the grant.
would not be part of it,
Yeah.
okay.
So that's an example of like feedback we should be giving our state representatives, because
Yeah.
this is not, in a small town like Woodbridge with 2 school districts that overlap, it's much more sustainable if we're able to do it together. So, and I'm sure that's the case across the SCROG that
It
you're
absolutely
working
is,
with.
and there's shared services and there's
Yeah.
opportunities for synergy that are not there when we create these hard lines. Again, the beauty of technology is that a server doesn't care which departments. It can be carved up, those resources can be used for lots and lots of different purposes, and it doesn't care, and it doesn't get jealous, and it doesn't get territorial, and it's perfect. It's like, yeah, let's do it. But when we create hard lines like that, it makes sharing and the most efficient use of technology harder, and that professionally bugs us, but we understand it's not reality. And again, it's been our passion since 2014 when we first participated in the Municipal Opportunities for Regional Efficiency across the state, and we championed many sharing initiatives. One of the things that we were successful at was lobbying on behalf of the Connecticut Education Network for that broadband resource to go not just to the school districts that it served in libraries, but to get that into towns, because we saw that as such a valuable resource, as one example. But if there's anything that we can do that is within the spirit of the grant, any sharing, any collaboration, any coordination, we would welcome that opportunity. So,
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
thank you.
So from our perspective, what we're looking for is a motion to move forward with this, take advantage of the grant and move forward with this particular project so we can get it started. 60 hours anticipated over 12 weeks for us to get the results. Timing, and one of the reasons we thought it was important to bring it up as quickly as possible was very specifically so we can get it started now and we can still be in that budget cycle, as you mentioned,
correct.
Sheila, so that if there are things that come up that we are definitely going to need dollars for, that we can appropriately budget for those. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second. With an understanding that we have existing funds in
Correct.
a
Yes.
budget
Correct, yeah.
line item for this.
Correct.
And with the understanding that we might not have the funds to do anything with this deliverable, so we could allocate those funds and then have no impact in the end in terms of implementation.
Yeah.
Well, it's
That's a
really,
risk.
you'd have to make a determination, once you have a roadmap, of, is this worth doing, and will we not do something else in order to do this?
We will get from these funds some policies and procedures.
Okay.
So it won't.
Wouldn't be
at
totally
least
useless.
Okay.
We'll be able to put these policies in place.
And we're securing these services at half the rate that would otherwise, which is obviously the other appealing
Sure.
piece of it, is you're securing the services half the rate that you would otherwise pay. And that's half the rate of a lower rate that the municipalities
Right.
generally
But we'd
utilize.
pay in full for the implementation.
No,
No.
Yeah, I was going to say anything that's done as a course of maturing the cybersecurity of the municipality, anything that's done towards shoring up certain kinds of software, certain kinds of programs, are all then available under that 50% for the duration of the grant. So until March
Okay.
2028.
So it could be, so Woodbridge can be the recipient or benefit from this grant more than once. Okay.
Yes.
Through March 2028.
28, yeah.
After which it is on us.
Which is why.
And in your
our recommendation-
experience, I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
How long do these things typically take? I understand the roadmap is 12 weeks from perhaps tonight, but and I'm sure it depends on what is revealed, but what's the time span in terms of a
Remediation?
range? Yeah.
So it really depends on organizational capacity to change, right?
So assume very small capacity.
Yeah, so it could take years.
I'm just saying,
you
it
know,
could take
but
years, so.
a lot, that's for many organizations. They're always multi-year roadmaps, right? Because you have to balance keeping the lights on and regular processes with improving at the same time. And that's why we kind of need the roadmap to kind of have that focus on priority of where the risk is and look at that impact to the town. And just to clarify, we already know what the gaps are. It's mainly going through and now looking at that with a different lens of, okay, now let's look at this with a budgetary and a resource lens and strategically map that out.
And you think based on the gaps, we're vulnerable? I mean, more than the baseline.
Everyone is.
Yeah.
Everyone is, right? Nobody's 100%, and the reason is it's scale. we're a small state, and it's a big, violent, angry world. And again, these are nation-state actors. These are criminal cabals. And it's why Homeland Security is involved to some extent. It's why National Guard helps out, and everybody kind of chips in and helps out because it's almost impossible.
And just one piece, it's not just, that the town is very vulnerable, because I think you guys are in a good position from a technology standpoint, but one piece of it is building resiliency and being proactive, right? Because if you don't, then it leads to a breach, and at that point, you already have paid out, you've taken the operational, reputational impact, and now you still have this risk that you need to solve for, right? So you're just paying out twice with it. So it's all, at the end of the day, we just want to limit impact to business obligations and the town as a whole. That's really all it comes down to. And, let's take the tech out of it. This is just a risk reduction measure. And that's really all we're trying to accomplish.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All in favor? None opposed? Thank you very much. Motion carries. Gentlemen, thank you very much. We'll look forward to working with you, and we'd like to get started as soon as possible.
Great.
So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Next item on our agenda is charter revision, and what I'd like to do is call for a motion again to act on a resolution regarding the initiation of the charter revision process.
Second.
I believe for the motion, we do need to read out loud the resolution as it's stated here.
I'll read the resolution. Whereas the Woodbridge Town Charter is the organic law of the municipality, and whereas Section 7-188 of the Connecticut General Statutes authorizes a municipality to revise its charter pursuant to a process authorized by statute, and whereas pursuant to Section 7-187 of the Connecticut General Statutes, the authority authorized to appoint a charter revision commission and commence the process is the Woodbridge Board of Selectmen. Now therefore be it resolved, the Board of Selectmen hereby authorizes initiation of the charter revision process. The commission shall consist of 7 members, not more than 1/3 of whom may hold any other public office in the town of Woodbridge, and not more than a bare majority of whom shall be members of any one political party.
Maria, I believe you seconded that?
Yes.
Bare majority means 4.
4.
4 out of the 7, correct. Any discussion?
I have
So-
some questions.
Please.
Yeah.
Procedurally related questions. So when it comes to voting on the charter revisions, is it all lumped together, or is it each change?
It's to be decided, so
And who decides that?
So there will be recommendations from the commission about what the changes should be and how those questions should be formed, and that will come to the Board of Selectmen to view, and then
too if you have questions.
because they're available. But if you looked at what other questions have happened in other towns, oftentimes there are multiple questions on the ballot. I've seen there was at least 4 towns who had it on their election in this past November. And I saw as many as 7 questions. So some things might be grouped together
Okay.
that are sensible to group together.
But that's
and other things
ultimately
might
the
be-
choice of the Board of Selectmen.
It will be the recommendation of the commission that then comes to the Board of Selectmen.
But, yeah, okay.
How it's presented.
Yes.
And then whether or not it passes is the
And then-
vote.
Right, and then
And then, do Board of Selectmen members have the ability to advocate for votes for certain things?
Not-
Like, in public engagement efforts, vote yes for this, vote no for that.
Generally speaking, I can only speak to referendums that I'm familiar with, and generally speaking, once it gets to a point of referendum, no.
No.
The public
Okay.
officials who are in charge do not that's when they cannot
Okay,
influence, if you will,
yeah,
the vote.
that's exactly what I was asking, thank you.
What kind of vote does it take to ratify a charter revision? Is it a simple majority?
if it's at a November, like a regular election, and my inclination is that this should happen at a November regular election, it is a simple majority. If it's at a special election, like a date in April or March, then there are some rules about the majority, and actually, I think some people here have published some details about that. It's also, I think, it might have been in our packet, but I forget what it is off the top of my head, but if you don't have a regular election, then there are some other guidelines as to, it might be more than a special simple majority. You need a minimum participation level. I don't have that up in front of me, but maybe Nick knows it, or maybe Sheila, you know off the top of your head.
So I did have just picking up for, we discussed this in October, and my concerns there are largely still intact. But I think I understand that, and this is probably a question for the town attorney. I've been stating kind of clearly throughout that I think the Board of Selectmen that initiates the process should be the board that receives the final report. And I would think that that Board of Selectmen should put, maybe even into the motion, what it is they want looked at, what they want included, and what they would like, at a minimum, to be reported back. So we've talked about some of the topics before. We've talked about, should the TPZ be elected? Should the Board of Finance be elected? Should the town budget go to referendum only if it exceeds a certain threshold, or at all times? There's a host of things that we've heard being discussed. If the Board of Selectmen, and this is clearly going to be the next Board of Selectmen's work, my inclination is it should be that board that charges the charter revision group. I think I understand that could be done the same time that the commission is appointed and the process is begun. So the first thing I want to suggest is that you consider doing this. I guess you have in your timeline a January 6th special Board of Selectmen meeting. Why not do it all there? And I guess that's a legal question for our attorney. Could we begin the process and name the group and name the topics all in one shot? Is that possible, Nick?
It certainly is.
Okay.
And in fact, it's, something that we suggest if it's possible and the appointing authority can give some guidance and has some knowledge or input, some framework for what's ripe for examination, then yes, that can all be captured in that one resolution, so to speak, when the appointments are made.
So I'll just reiterate my strong concern that the Board of Selectmen that needs to take these actions and bring this to fruition should be naming the commission, but should also be putting out what their intention is. And I think that's the new board. I've been saying this for almost a full year. The only other thing I would say is getting it done between now and very early September in order to get it on the ballot in November. I don't know the exact timeline of that. I think it is like maybe the first 10 days of September you have to have finalized it. Pushes you into the potential of having public hearings that are going to be very important in the summer when people are away. And I know we're not going to belabor the POCD process yet again here, but I don't think that suited us well, and I think we ran into trouble. So my suggestion to the incoming board, who I would like to see take action on this, is that you set something like April 1st as the draft report due date, so that you can then they can have their final hearing on their draft in late March, early April, get the report back to the Board of Selectmen, allow the Board of Selectmen to have some time in the spring before school lets out, I believe it's June 11th, to have a public session of your own, and then do what you will over the summer to finalize the documentation, and then again have a session the very first week of September, before Labor Day. Labor Day, I think, is like the 8th this year. I think you have time to do it again and then take that final action the first week of September and still make your deadline. But you would have to specify a date for the draft report from this new commission early in the process, earlier than you have here. And my last suggestion is that you include more people on the commission, because I think there are a lot of people out there who are interested in this process, and this would give more opportunity for people to serve. So I would like to make a motion to table this.
We have a motion already.
Yeah, so I'm making a motion to table, which is like subsidiary to that one. So I would like you all to.
We haven't had any opportunity to discuss it beyond what you've said.
Okay. So I'll wait for more discussion,
Please.
and then I'll make a motion to table. That's
I'd
fine.
appreciate it.
Yep.
Well, it's my understanding that this process is not necessarily laid out by the Board of Selectmen, but governed by state statute. And within that process, both the board and the public, through public hearings, have a chance to give input to the committee before they even start their work.
Yep.
So going forward with this today would still give the Board of Selectmen, the new Board of Selectmen, and the public a chance to do that. Doing this today would not preclude the Board of Selectmen from coming and bringing suggestions to the committee forward. It wouldn't prevent the new board from bringing suggestions forward. And certainly, I hear you about, I think you want to shorten the timeline, but then delay starting this. And I don't know how that's helpful. I think it would be helpful if we started the process.
Right, so I think I understand from what Nick said so if you look at your timeline, you have tonight as one point in the timeline, and then you have January 6th as another point. You could do both things that you would contemplate tonight and everything you're contemplating on the 6th, and the additional suggestions I just made, which is to change your timeline and add your topics,
In order to.
all on January 6th.
In order to do that, you would be taking the exact same action as if we opted to initiate that at this point. What this does, what Nick said is what's possible. However, the only action we're looking to take today is to initiate the process so that on the 6th we can select the members, which is what you're suggesting as well. But this initiates the process so that it's formally we're starting to do it. We know what we need to do, and the only thing it's doing is just initiating the process. The charge, the selection will be in the purview, and will be up to the board, the new board. It doesn't take,
So
this
what's
doesn't take it
initiating the
away.
process mean?
Just,
That is the legal, that's the legal action we have to take. The charging board means initiating this. And
So
then
what
within-
happens between today and January
the
6th?
same thing that would happen if we did this on January 6th. We select the people who we want
We
for the
need-
next board, and we start considering what the charge of this is going to be.
So I think that should be in the resolution that initiates. And I don't think we're ready tonight to do that. And I think it should be the next board that passes that resolution.
What I'm suggesting is I don't see what's productive in doing that, other than delaying it. We know what needs to be done, we'd like to get it done on the 6th. If we initiate the process, we're not taking anything away from the new board, we're not delaying it.
When would the new board be able to engage on what the recommendations are?
Well, it would be at that meeting that we would discuss it and have the charge as well as the appointments. So the way that this process is envisioned is that at one meeting, the process is initiated, and then you have 30 days, and within that 30 days, at a next meeting, you appoint the commission and name the charge. And you're not required to actually make a charge. That does not have to happen.
No,
think
it
we
should
would
happen
like
in the
to.
resolution, though.
We
so-
can want to,
I
but
guess-
I'm saying legally we do not have to. And the
Right.
first action of the commission is to have a public hearing to hear from the public what they would like to see in the charter revision. So understanding that that's the first thing they will do. Obviously, they need to schedule that meeting, but after that, they then need to hear what would people in Woodbridge like to see as part of the charter revision process. So people can show up to that, and that's what we would encourage them to do. Show up and express the things, we've heard it in feedback, but other people should show up and say, these are the things we'd like to see.
I'm sorry. Additionally, 4 of the members of the new board are present existing currently. So we're familiar with what the situation is. The one stipulation I'll make in terms of making a decision for the previous board, there is one decision we're making, and that's a quantity of individuals on the board, on the committee. So, and again, there's 4 members of the board who are here now. So if the 7 is an issue for those 4, yes, I can understand that. But if that's not the case, then I don't understand I don't understand where it's productive for us to wait and do this. All we are doing here, this resolution is not with regard to the charge. It's not with regard to the people who will be on it. It's simply to resolve, to start the process.
So you anticipate a second resolution to have the dates?
This is a resolution required to initiate the process.
Right, so
Whatever's
can it be
required-
changed on the 6th if you're going to add to it? So I would strongly suggest that the Board of Selectmen have a public discussion of what your intention is with this group. Decide then how many members you think should be on it, but also, very importantly, put in the dates. The dates aren't here in this.
They're not
in
meant
this.
to be here. They're meant to
So,
be at the next meeting.
I guess that's a legal question, though. Is this something that can be revised on January 6th?
When you say this, you mean the resolution?
This resolution,
Okay.
yeah.
The timeline is not what we're voting on tonight. That's just a proposed timeline.
Nick, is there anything you want to contribute to that?
Yes, please. Towns take different approaches. So what I'm hearing being suggested is an initiating resolution that starts the process. That can be it. The only statutory requirement is within 30 days, if this board does approve the initiating resolution, within 30 days, they have to appoint membership to that commission and set a date that cannot be later than 16 months from the date that those appointments are made, presumably on January 6th. So at that January 6th the action on the action tonight is initiate. The action on January 6th would be make the appointments and set the date that the draft report is required for submission to the Board of Selectmen. Some towns, if they have upfront an idea of what that charge might look like at the initiating stage, they build it into this initial initiating resolution. If they just want to get some momentum started and then have a later resolution within 30 days doing the appointments and setting the date, that is perfectly legal, and what at least one of my towns who are currently in the midst of a charter revision, that's the process they employed this past fall as well.
So Nick, just to make sure I understand that part, it'd have to be within 30 days. We would amend this resolution to include the charge or add, create a new
No,
resolution?
it doesn't have to be the same. I mean, they're separate actions. So you don't have to amend this resolution. Sure, the law calls it a resolution. Effectively, it's a motion reduced to writing that you're acting on. So, tonight's action would be taking that initiation step that under the statutory timeline, you are then required to, within 30 days, take another action, which we can reduce to writing in a resolution, that sets the date and makes the appointments.
And Nick, just
So it's
to,
technically not an amendment, it's just like a supplement, I guess.
and to what I think, in terms of Sheila's point, should the new board on the 6th, if someone indicate that they would prefer that there be 9 individuals on it, can that change be made at that point in time?
If you're at meeting, because tonight you're also setting the number.
Correct.
Bear with me for a minute.
I just want to reiterate, you're not losing any time if we don't act tonight.
I mean,
Passing
We've
Been
this
losing time
resolution.
since July.
we might be. We could have started in
No,
July.
I
and
don't,
if we
we're
don't-
not
there's no
losing
guarantee
any
if we
time
don't
unless you have time tonight to talk about what else should be part of this, like the timeline I suggested.
That
If
is
it's-
not necessary.
If it's still an
Sheila.
open
I know.
Not required.
question,
Sounds like you're not
how
going to do it,
No.
so.
Well, you didn't do the
You
thing.
want
We
on
could
the
have done this
commission?
already.
then just strike that from tonight's resolution and go with it on the 6th. And we could build it into whatever action is taken then.
Yeah. So the last thing I'll say about this is I feel very strongly that the people of Woodbridge who have been waiting for some time for this process will probably want to know from the Board of Selectmen, the incoming Board of Selectmen, what is your intention? What are you trying to see? I think there should be some good, healthy debate amongst the new Board of Selectmen members, what should be in or not in this process. I would like to hear all your
Keep in mind though, Sheila, I'm sorry to interrupt, but
It's
just
okay.
for everyone's sake, I think it's been mentioned at prior meetings, but just to be clear, this board is used to rendering a charge that really is the foundational
Right.
empowerment for one of our local agencies, one of our local boards, commissions. And that's the strictures of what duties and powers they have. This is not that. So you can make recommendations. I mean, we're calling it a charge in this conversation. It's really not a charge. It's an opportunity. It's not a statutory requirement, but like Sheila's suggesting, it's an opportunity to present guidance from those who have been in official positions for some time for what, might be worth considering. And the commission can then take that and they can do what they want with it.
Well, they have to include it in the draft report? Recommendations one way or the other. They could say, no, we don't agree with the guidance that was put forward by the Board of Selectmen. So let's say elect the TPZ members as an example. If we say we tonight, or the Board of Selectmen in January says, include in your examination of charter revision possibilities the idea that we would potentially elect our TPZ. That Charter Revision Commission can take hearing testimony, get information, and then decide, yeah, we looked at it, and here's what we've determined in our draft report we want to suggest. And they could say, no, we don't think it should be an elected position. But my understanding of what we request be in the draft report is simply matters that we want them to look at, and they need to report back that they looked at them. Is that all
They
it
should.
is?
I mean, that's how the process is intended.
Okay, so that's my intention, where I think that the Board of Selectmen should give guidance of what you want looked at. I don't know, this group and the incoming members, where they stand on any of these issues. I don't think the people of Woodbridge understand it either, because we haven't discussed it. So I would suggest that you take the time to do that at your January 6th.
It's time that will be,
The charter revision belongs not to the Board of Selectmen. Charter revision belongs to the town and to the people of Woodbridge. And certainly, I feel like this board, the new board coming in January, will have some suggestions, absolutely. But there is still room, there's still time to do that and have that discussion. And I think most importantly, we need to hear from the people of Woodbridge in this process.
Yeah, it doesn't limit additional items. It just gives the Charter Revision Group an idea of what you're looking for. Because you do guys.
I do think that's a
Board of
good
Selectmen
idea.
does
I
have
do.
to-
But it's something
This
that's
is for
gonna
the
take place
people.
in-
The people elected us. We've been, guiding in policy in this town for a long time. We are experts in what goes on in this town, and we have valuable insight into how our charter could benefit from this revision process.
my question remains.
Yeah.
How does that change if we initiate it today? Why is that threatened? Why is that not still able to happen if we initiate
Does
this
it-
today? It simply doesn't. So.
We would do it at the next meeting.
We would do, that's the natural course of events. That's exactly what will take place. This resolution, this motion, is simply to initiate the process so that we have an established date by which we have to have the committee established. I'm looking at this as, let's not delay any further. We know this is something that one needs to be done to some degree because of some of the things that are in there, and that this group has expressed is something that we feel the town wants to be done. So why are we delaying the process further? If we have the opportunity, I can understand previously where we had 30 days, previously, when we took the vote, it would have been us to select them. And we would have left that group with another group. That's not the case now. If we initiate the process, the new group selected will be selected by the group selected will be selected by the new group. The charge will be done by the new group. The whole process will be done by the new group. So I'm just not seeing the benefit and the value of delaying it, is really what it boils down to. So,
David.
there is, David?
I don't see the benefit either way. I don't see the benefit of starting it now. If you start it now, you could select you open a 30-day window that you have to get it done by. It doesn't say when you do it. You could start it on the same day that you appoint all of the members. And this, when I read it on the agenda, it sounds to me like, well, we already know who the members are that we want, So let's just go ahead and start going. So unless somebody has approved a bunch of members that I didn't know about.
That hasn't happened, Dave.
It doesn't, I don't see any point in this because we know that nothing's going to happen between now and January 6th in this regard. We've got all those other boards and commissions that you'll be dealing with, the newly elected people. And there's no opportunity to tell them what to do because you won't meet between now and January 6th. I just don't, to me, it's a moot point. It just seems like we're wasting our time talking about it to put it on the agenda, unless there's something that's not transparent about this.
No, quite the contrary. There is a consequence. There is a consequence.
Explain that to me.
Because we can decide to initiate or aside to designate who the people will be on there. We can. But we have 30 days to do that. So if the other board, if there's not we could say, no, we don't want to do it, and then we have to delay it 30 more days. So there could be a delay. If we initiate it today, we are making it known, we are announcing, and we are indicating that by 30 days, we have to have this started in the specifically, we have to have the people who will be doing this selected. If we go into the 6th, it may be another 30 days before we have that done. So that there is an opportunity for delay if we don't select it today. There is not an opportunity for delay if we do select it today. It's really, in my mind, that simple.
Who's selecting the people?
The new board.
This board is
So,
the same.
so are you engaging the BOS elect in considering individuals for appointments now?
We've been discussing it since July. So we've been considering it since we made known that we wanted to do, charter revision.
We meaning
So-
the WDTC?
Yes,
board,
in
well,
this,
this board has been aware of potential.
We've been aware, but we haven't discussed any
Well,
names
that-
or resume. We haven't
nor-
shared resumes
Sure,
or
but
anything like that.
our next meeting is to appoint commission members.
Yeah.
And to me, it's a very sensible thing for while we appoint commission members in January to appoint to this commission as well. I assume that you've been doing work to meet people and gather interest and skills. And there's still time between now and that meeting to talk to people who might be interested.
But you
This
don't
has
know
been,
what topics.
This has been open for months as an idea. People in town
Yeah.
want charter revision to be
Well,
involved.
we talked
I-
about it in the budget last year, and we, at that time, changed the budget heading so that it could start in January, and discussed letting the next board take the process
Right, that
from
was-
start to finish.
That was your take on it. That
Yes,
was not my take.
yes.
That was your take.
Well,
So you're
we
saying
did
it was a
vote to
decision
take, we did vote to take the money out of the budget.
if I may,
We worked on the budget, but it was your take that it shouldn't happen until the next board.
And
I
my
don't
motion
agree
to
with that.
take the money out of the budget was accepted by everyone.
No, I don't believe it was, but the budget also is not,
the
the
one
funding
thing,
for it is not set in a way that if it had started in July, we would have run out of money.
Well-
That's not how that budget of this works.
Yes,
We
no,
have-
it was. We cut it in
it's not.
half.
that's not
Cut it in
necessarily,
half, and we kept taxes down in doing that. And that was one of the reasons I wanted to
to
do
David's
Also-
point, I think we've had plenty of discussion on this over the course of a number of months. Now, there has been a motion made, there is a second. I think we've discussed it to a point where I feel we can make a decision on this, so I would like to call a vote. All those in favor of initiating the charter revision, please say aye. All those opposed? Motion does not carry. On to our next agenda item, which is the
Public hearing, I think.
it is a public hearing. Is there anyone here who would like to make comment? Oh, let me,
You got
I'm
to
sorry. Yeah, thank you.
call the public hearing to order. We'll call the public hearing to order to receive comments on proposed amendments to ordinances. Number 1, Chapter 382, Taxation, Article 4, Relief for the Elderly and/or Totally Disabled Homeowners. And number 2, do we need to do these separately, Nick, or we can open this as one? We can open them both, I think,
Yeah, I think you could take them,
Sorry, Tony.
together.
I mean, you might want to just poll the
Yes,
room
okay,
to see
great.
if there's folks to
Yes.
speak for one or the other and take them in order just to
In terms of,
organize,
Well, I'll
the
finish the
comments.
So,
Thank
and also number 2, Chapter 382, Taxation, Article 7, Exemption for Veterans. I'll note that legal notice was made on our town website on November 24th and appeared in the New Haven Register on Saturday, November 29th.
I'll make a motion to waive the reading of the legal notice.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you. Motion is, I'm sorry, the hearing is officially open. Is there anyone here that would like to make comment as relates to the public hearing? The taxation?
I'm here for number 5.
For number 5.
Public comment.
Public comment, thank you. Thank you. Seeing no one?
Was anything written or?
Nope.
Okay.
I'm sorry, yes, no, I have received no email communications.
Experience tells me that seeing no one is of concern. So I'm, however, if we hold this open, it does cause something of a problem. So I do feel like at this point, we need to close the public hearing and move on to our next order of business.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second.
All in favor? All right, our next order of business is to discuss.
No, public comment.
Oh, I'm sorry, public comment. Yes, I'm sorry. Just, name and address is the normal process.
Lenny Bell, 59 Tumblebrook Road. Good evening. Good rainy, sleety evening. I'm a resident of Woodbridge for almost exactly 39 years, as I'm thinking about it. And except for a 12-month period 23 years ago, when I was forced to temporarily join a political party in town, which then, of course, voted against me, in order to serve on the Amity Board of Education, and then the Board of Selectmen then unanimously elected me, I've always been an unaffiliated voter, except for that 12 months of hell. And it remains so today. I'd like to address to your last meeting of the year 6 issues that deeply trouble me. Largely, I think we have a mismatch between what town leaders are doing and what town residents want. The observation that Democrats in town only won by a handful of votes in the context of both an overwhelming majority of Democrats in town and an overwhelming blue wave across the state and country should tell you how disliked the current town policies are. So there's 6 areas. One is the focus on growth policy, 2 is zoning, 3 is quickly housing policy, 4 is affordable housing, 5 is the broken strategic decision-making process, and the last one is the town legal advocacy. So first, in so-called growth policy, it's an anodyne enough slogan, but behind the slogan, what's the reason and what's the strategy? It's unclear to me. Why is the town pushing residential growth? I can't come up with an affirmative answer. I know certain things it can't be. It can't be for more workforce, since the residential growth that's being pushed is nowhere near places of work. It's not for more customers for town commercial growth, since again, the large residential complexes are nowhere near commercial centers. It's not for taxes, since it will net cost us more. It can't be because the town's consultant told the town last April that large apartment buildings will count as commercial on the grand list instead of residential, because that would be offensively deceptive. I don't think there are more than 100 people in town who likely favor this, and I ask you to please reconsider and stop, and I'll come back to this again shortly. Number 2 is sane zoning. I ask, and I've said this to many people privately in advance, has every select person here today and all the responsible leaders of the Democratic Town Committee watched the 3.5-hour video of the December TPZ meeting? I point my finger largely at the DTC, since they appointed the vast majority of the members on the committee. For some of you, and there probably aren't a lot of you, well, maybe a couple, I guess, myself included, who are old enough to remember Clockwork Orange, which was an obscene movie in the late
I remember
60s,
it
early
too.
70s.
Well, I've seen it. I wasn't there when it came out.
It's okay. Well, there are certain scenes that, if you were to watch the DTC video, would feel viscerally like you're watching the movie, where actually you're in the movie. And I say that because, at some level, if the DTC members were forced to watch the TPZ meeting video, it would serve as both punishment and also to incentivize them to change their behavior, just like in the movie that we can recall from 60 years ago. I assume it was at least as humiliating for the members of the committee, of the TPZ committee, as it was certainly for the viewers. It was leaderless, it was uninformed, a bit like a tragic version of the Keystone Cops. It's not hard to see how this bumbling crew got us into a town-wide 4-story zoning change. Democratic town leaders, what could you possibly be thinking? That being said, I give enormous credit and respect to the one member of the TPC who said publicly he made a mistake in earlier agreeing with a town-wide zoning change. I went up to him and shook his hand and thanked him. Courage in political life is rare, and I applaud him for reversing himself. Are there any others perhaps that can stand up tonight? Number 3, turning to housing policy, your POCD draft policy that specifically calls for higher density housing is ill-conceived. I also understand that the Housing Committee has at one point advocated for, it's unclear to me, either 1,500 more housing units or 1,500 more affordable housing units. It really doesn't matter, it's splitting the difference. Either case, this is nuts. It should be disavowed. Like your TPZ member who courageously admitted that he was incorrect, the Democratic town leaders should admit that they are wrong and withdraw these ill-conceived housing policies. I speak from over a half a century of experience understanding housing policy in growing communities. Number 4, affordable housing. The town's misguided approach is symptomatic of poor strategic decision-making, in my view. Instead of overbuilding 100 units with only 10 to 12 affordable housing units, let's build the 10 to 12 units or even 20 units we want and not waste resources on the other 90 extraneous units. Let's innovate to achieve our social equity goals and not fall prey to overbuilding 4-story monstrosities. Let's get to the point and due diligence to consider partnering with an experienced nonprofit developer to help build affordable housing. There are at least 2 that come to mind. And only affordable housing in town. Incidentally, this was presented at the town-sponsored forum last April, where the housing chair and Mika were also both participating. What's happened since then? Number 5, coming towards the close, is the overarching concern that there appears to be a broken and or non-existent strategic decision-making and policy process in the town government. There needs to be a real strategic decision-making process for town policy. 1, vet out and identify your specific policy objectives. 2, identify and describe all of the adjacent risks as well as tertiary risks. 3, create a tailored plan around achieving desired outcome and also limiting risks. 4, implement a process to make sure that policy execution is monitored to align with objectives and risk. And then 5, execute. And then, of course, most importantly, make sure that town decisions align with this strategy. 6, and finally, I'm greatly concerned by the town legal expertise, as evidenced in the TPZ meetings that I've attended either in person or by video. As an experienced consumer of high-quality legal service, and much less so of low-quality legal service, I'm appalled by the quality of legal service the town claims and obtains, at least at TPZ meetings. In the video last week, I mistakenly thought, because I had a limited perspective by just watching what was in the camera, for 3.5 hours, that I was certain that the applicant's attorney was providing legal advice to the TPZ members without our town attorney being present. Turns out our town attorney was present. He likely has skid marks still from that event. The town needs to be served better. It's an important asset. We should capitalize on it and make sure we use this as the town navigates its way through some tricky situations going forward. Those are my comments, and most importantly, I hope that you take these comments as they are truly and sincerely meant. That is, constructively. Here to help, so we can all see the required improvement in strategy, policy, and operations. Thank you for your time, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thanks for your comments.
Can I, for the record, can I just have your first and last name again?
Last name is Bell, B-E-L-L,
Address?
59 Tumblebrook Road.
59, okay, perfect, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you.
Thanks.
See no one else for public comment? But I will ask, just in case there's somebody out in earshot and out of sight, but anyone else for public comment?
So we may have some public comment,
Yeah.
unless we can add it to our agenda.
What is it that you'd like to add to the agenda?
So David and I had some recommendations we wanted to share with the board. We can do it in public comment, or we could add to the agenda. This is regarding the appointment of board and commission members.
I will say that that is something that will be taken up in the future with the new board, as those are the individuals who will be making the appointments. It is something that will be shared with them, and it is something that will be on the agenda in terms of discussion. I can't say that it will be done on the 6th or on the 12th, but it will be done.
Thank you. We'd like to just read it into the record then.
Well, you can submit it to, well, no, it's past 3 o'clock.
Yeah, read it.
We can read it.
Go ahead. Okay.
Decided we would do it together, and then we can take turns doing that on the table. So David and I discussed some recommendations. I can give you a copy if you want to pass it along. And our purpose here was to just make some, what we're thinking of as common sense ideas for the next board to consider. This is, as our terms are concluding, we've been involved in a few discussions about how the appointment process works. It's a long-standing thing. It happened long before this board was seated. There were some ongoing concerns. This is just a suggestion to try to address it. So if you'd like us to read this in, or you've got copies of it now, I guess for the record, we should.
Okay. We wanted to make sure that, we just wanted to suggest that it seems like we could do a better job of vetting just qualifications for our boards and commissions, so that we were matching better the skill sets instead of simply party loyalties. So our purpose here was that as our terms on the Board of Selectmen come to a close, we respectfully submit these best practices recommendations to strengthen the town's process for appointing members to boards and commissions. These suggestions are intended to increase transparency and predictability, reduce recurring disputes, ensure consistent compliance with state law, protect the integrity of minority representation, expand opportunities for unaffiliated voters, and enhance long-term public trust in town governance. These recommendations are nonpartisan and are meant to serve any future board regardless of which party holds the majority.
Now we're going to take turns. So our background and observed challenges include over multiple terms and across changes in board composition, several recurring process challenges have emerged. A lack of standardized and publicly visible appointment process, including the absence of nominees on the published agenda prior to a vote. Inconsistent vetting and nomination procedures, sometimes resulting in last-minute appearance of names for consideration. Ambiguity regarding who nominates candidates to minority representation seats and the order in which nominations are taken up. And long-standing public concerns about fairness and missed opportunities for residents interested in serving.
So the historical precedent in Woodbridge, in the 1970s, the Board of Selectmen seems to have utilized a nominating subcommittee to evaluate candidates for appointed boards and commissions. Names for consideration could be submitted by either town committee, either the Republicans or Democrats, or come directly from the residents seeking appointment regardless of voter registration affiliation. The subcommittee provided a venue to focus on the qualifications of the candidates. It consisted of 3 selectmen and appears to have purposefully not included the first selectman. This structure supported balanced representation and helped produce orderly, transparent appointment recommendations.
So our recommendations are, 1, reestablish a 3-member nominating subcommittee consistent with historic practice, excluding the first selectman. 2, standardize and publicize the appointment process, ensuring adequate notice, inclusion of nominees on agendas, and consistent vetting of all applicants. 3, protect the integrity of minority representation seats, including clear procedures for how nominations for those seats are advanced and considered. And then 4, create a regular appointment calendar with sufficient lead time to allow for advertising of vacancies, reviewing of applications, and avoiding last-minute appointments.
So the benefits of adopting these recommendations, by implementing these or other reforms, this would increase public trust and transparency. It would reduce unnecessary conflict. It would ensure compliance with minority representations requirements. It would provide equitable access for unaffiliated and minority party applicants, and build a stable system that will serve future boards regardless of political composition.
And then in closing, we offer these recommendations in good faith and with a deep appreciation for the importance of strong, fair, and transparent appointment processes in maintaining public confidence in town government. Respectfully submitted this evening. Thank you.
As indicated, this was already planned to be put into the packet for next month's meeting. Additionally, I'll add that what I didn't say earlier is that we have been working from a town perspective for a process. We've been looking at other towns and what they do from an appointment perspective to understand what they do and see if we can put together some sort of a guide that will help us going forward. So it is something that will be taken up with the new board. Appreciate your comments, and certainly your comments will be added so that can be considered as well. Thank you. Moving on with our yeah, sorry, Nick.
No, it's okay.
So Mika, just to clarify, the consideration of this and whatever research you're doing will come after our appointments this year.
It will have to. We're not meeting prior to.
Yeah.
So that's the next appointments.
Okay.
Correct. And I'll also add that there may be a difference of opinion on this, but certainly the way we've taken appointments over the course, anything, there's room for improvement. But certainly what we've tried to take a different approach over the last term, and we'll continue to see what we can do to improve and optimize on the process. The next item on the agenda is for us to consider the proposed amendment, the opposed ordinance amendment for the taxation, Article 4, relief of elderly and totally disabled homeowners, and Chapter 382, taxation on Article 7, exemption for veterans. So I'll open up our discussion, and I know we've had some discussion on this for a number of meetings at this point in time. All notices were sent out. Folks were made aware in terms of, we didn't really get very much public comment. I know that I can tell you from the perspective of having talked to a number of different, one of the reasons I've been pushing for this is very specifically because of the comments I received from some of our seniors here in town who are looking for some sort of relief, particularly as a result of the recent revaluation. So I do know that there is significant support for this type of action. So I'll open it up for any additional discussion.
I'm just checking the agenda. Is there action as appropriate here?
Yes.
Okay, so perhaps for the benefit, can you just summarize quickly the amendments for each? If that's a possibility. If not, I
Summarize?
understand.
Well, basically, I'll summarize.
Yeah.
For the elderly, we're looking to increase, there's two things we're looking to do. For the elderly and totally disabled, we're looking to increase the amount of the credit, or the credit.
Correct.
From $1,400 to $1,600 for the lower income range, and from $1,120 to $1,320 for the higher income range. Additionally, we're looking to what is often referred to as casting a broader net and increasing the qualifying income from currently $53,000, and I'm using approximate $53,000 to $78,000, and from $93,000 on the higher end to $108,000 with in the plus.
And the thought is this aligns with current cost of living a little bit better, and probably not perfectly, but that it has not been updated in a long time. Yeah.
Yeah, and we increased the amount in the budget from $190,000 to $300,000.
To accommodate for
accommodate
the shift.
change, yeah.
Great.
And
We
it also,
anticipate doing that. That is something you'll do going forward.
Yeah,
right?
for next year's budget,
Yeah.
I'll have that in there.
The other board will do.
And
And
can you remind me of where that money's coming from?
So basically what I'll do is similar to when I calculate for uncollected taxes, like I have to put an estimate in there for uncollected taxes, an estimate, this will also be calculated in the same manner, which is essentially reduces the grand list by that much.
Okay.
So that you have to increase the mill rate to account for that. So it's not actually a line item, you just reduce the grand list by that amount so that you're taking that value off the list so that you can have that covered.
It's more of
We-
revenue coming off.
we
than
anticipate
budgeting
Correct.
a reduction in our grand list by the amount that we're talking about.
Okay.
And it's capped right now at 300 unless there's a request to make it higher, and then the Board of Selectmen will have the power, Board of Selectmen and Finance would have the power to make it higher? Is that how it works, Tony?
And certainly in the budget, that's how it would work, but I believe in here it says that it's prorated.
Does the request have to start with the assessor?
Right.
Come and say, I've got
Okay.
too many people.
Right.
And I need more than 300,000, and then that's up to the Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance to raise it.
And did we ever get
not.
Board of Finance input on this?
Yes.
Yes.
They were here the first time we talked.
I remember they were here, but outside of that, because we had left that meeting with like, hey, do some
Yeah.
homework and get back to us.
They spoke at a subsequent meeting.
Okay. At their meeting.
There's no objection to this,
Okay.
correct.
So
that's
are we
the-
voting one at a time?
Yeah, that's
or-
We will vote one at a time.
Okay.
Any other questions? On the matter of the proposed ordinance amendment, Chapter 382 Taxation, Article 4, Relief for Elderly and/or Totally Disabled Homeowners. All in favor of the proceeding with the ordinance amendment, please indicate by aye. That motion carries unanimously.
Do we second that?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hold on. I was
We
ready
might
to
not
do it,
have.
like, wait a
No,
minute.
we didn't. Do
To
I have a
adopt,
motion?
someone make a motion
I
to
made a
adopt
motion.
the
I'll make a
amendment.
Mika made a
to
motion, I seconded.
Great, sold, moving on.
Now, do I have a motion for Chapter 382 Taxation, Article 7, Exemption for Veterans? This one is specific to the, this is the 2 acres, if I'm not mistaken, Tony?
Correct.
This is
Correct.
so that there would be an exemption for veterans and/or widows of veterans, and/or trusts for veterans, related to the exemption of their property being also included from a taxation standpoint, being
So-
exempt from a taxation standpoint,
Up to 2 acres, right?
up to 2 acres, correct. We have a
So
motion, do I
moved.
have a second? We have a second. And any additional discussion?
The
Just
other
to
thing,
The only
clarify, it does not apply to widows if they're remarried.
It would, if I remember
I
reading it
think
correctly.
we discussed this
yes.
last, but I
It
just
does.
want to make sure that didn't change.
Nick, I'll ask you, but if I'm not mistaken, I think we exempted
It's
that.
null and void.
Correct.
Okay.
That's correct. One thing I did want to clarify, however, I believe Sheila raised the question at the last meeting, when we talked about capping the period of time that an eligible spouse, when the spouse could have died. And the question that Sheila posed was, it's also on a go-forward basis, right? Sheila provided, well, how far do we want to go back?
yeah, we said
And
December
we gave the
8th.
date of World War II, and the question was,
1941.
and that, this eligibility for a surviving spouse continues after October 1st of 2024, right? And I looked at the legislation more closely, and this is nothing that we're proposing in the red line. This is literally the limitations of the enabling statute. So this is the exact language of the statute that we're basically building into this. The short answer is, we don't really have the rhyme or reason for why the legislature did it this way, but in terms of offering this additional exemption for the dwelling and up to 2 acres of the land on which the dwelling sits for a permanently and totally disabled veteran, 100% disability rating as determined by the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. That's important. It's 100% lifetime disability rating. But that's only eligible as part of this ordinance. That benefit can go to a surviving spouse if that totally disabled veteran has passed. However, it's only for veterans who have passed from the period of December 8th, 1941, thank you, Sheila, to October 1st, 2024. So if a qualifying fully disabled veteran passes today, then the surviving spouse is not going to be able to take advantage of that eligibility. It's only for veterans who are eligible, who passed between 1941 and October 1st, 2024. It's still something that the legislature has authorized a local municipality to implement and extend to the spouse, but for this more limited window.
So in other words, the window closed, and unless the state acts to open it up or extend it, we cannot allow it to
That's correct.
continue. Okay.
Exactly.
And that is what it is. There's nothing we can do about that right now, right?
Right.
Still worth doing.
Thank you. Thank you, Nick. Any other discussion? Call a vote. All in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. That brings us to our next item on the agenda, which is the Ad Hoc Housing Committee termination. Action as appropriate. As part of the charge of the Ad Hoc Housing Committee, it was indicated that it was established through a vote.
Did we skip the zoning?
Oh, did I? Zoning Board of Appeals, excuse me. Thank you, Allison. Next item on the
Thank
agenda.
Karen.
I missed that
I was
too.
gonna let you keep going, so.
Thank you, Karen. Next item on the agenda is Zoning Board of Appeals appointment, two-year term. We have a nomination for the Zoning Board of Appeals. This is specifically the position that was opened up as a result of Mr. Horowitz resigning from his ZBA election and taking on a position on the Town Plan and Zoning Commission.
Point of order, can we do the consent agenda first so we've accepted that resignation before we fill it?
Certainly.
Okay. So I'll move the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor? Now, is there anything on the consent agenda that anybody has an issue with? And if not, can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second? All in favor? Thank you. We've accepted the resignations, and next, I'm now back onto the Zoning Board of Appeals, thank you. And do I have a nomination?
I'll make the motion to appoint Louis Schaefer to the Zoning Board of Appeal alternate position. It's a 2-year term ending December 31st, 2027.
Well, it's a 2-year term because it's being appointed
Yes.
into an elected position.
Correct.
They do have that,
Yes, they
that
have to come
seat
to-
has to come up for
Yes.
re-election at the next election cycle.
Which will be a 2-year election.
Thank you.
for them.
I'll second the nomination. Discussion?
Yes, so I'd like to ask why not consider the other candidate who is on the ZBA alternate ballot, Dennis Santulo, who happens to be a Democrat, and got, I think, the next highest amount of votes after Horowitz.
More?
No, I'm asking, why not consider Dennis, who...
The experience and resume that Lou has is more conducive with this particular position than that which I saw for Dennis. That's from my perspective, that's one of the reasons I support the decision.
I disagree. I think Dennis has great qualifications. I think he worked for it as a candidate for the election, and deserves more legitimate consideration.
I appreciate it. I'm not sure exactly what other roles within town Dennis has had. Certainly would welcome his involvement in other areas And, certainly not any reflection in terms of saying he does not or is not necessarily qualified, but I do feel that Lou's qualifications as an attorney, Lou's qualifications as having his experience in terms of having worked with the town for a number of years at this point in time, puts him in a spot that's a little bit higher.
How has Lou worked with the town?
Lou is on the Housing Committee.
Housing Committee.
Correct. Correct. Any other?
This is one of the areas that I think we frequently got into over our heads a little bit on things like this, because in a rush to fill the TPZ, a candidate was pulled from running for an office, too late to change the name, and then wins election, which basically gives the party the choice of just making the appointment, because if you pull a candidate and then the candidate gets the majority votes because of the presumably voter registration being what it is, it's not necessarily addressing the qualifications of everyone involved for all those positions. Certainly that was one of the reasons that I voted against the TPZ appointment, which seemed kind of hurried. But I just like to say that this kind of a process does not make it easy for people on this board to work together, because it just seems like, it seems like everything's hurried, and it seems like there are people who maybe are just taking advantage of their majority. And that's probably not the best way to do this.
My comment on that'll be that we selected the slate in July, if I'm not mistaken, in terms
Yes.
of the
For the
people
election,
for
you
the
mean?
election.
Yes.
Yeah.
In July.
The DTC.
We
That's
had
in July.
we had a resignation on TPZ in September,
Yep.
if I remember correctly. That wasn't planned. That was a rather sudden and unexpected type of a thing. The person who we put on for Zoning Board of Appeals was a person we felt qualified for TPZ, but there was no slot available for that. So it made sense that that person would be considered for that role, since Zoning Board of Appeals seems like it could be a good growth spot. So there was some logic in terms of doing that. It's a very qualified attorney who's been engaged, and so it's not simply a matter of making a decision at the last minute to pull somebody's candidacy to replace something else that's needed. I mean, there were a set of circumstances here that kind of forced the hand a little bit to some degree. That being said, I understand your concerns. I've always understood your concerns. I've always tried to address those concerns, and we will continue to do so until we find a way to
Well, perhaps if,
make this more equitable.
it rests somewhere between charter reform and just doing things in a better process, so that the board can work together feeling like we're all dealing with the same amount of information. And, maybe we will have an elected TPZ, which most, if not all other towns have. Many other towns have,
Not
for
all, but
sure.
many do, yes,
Many do. And that would solve that problem in one sense.
for that particular position.
Not when there's a resignation, but we have a process for filling resignations, so. I think it all would help us work together if we didn't have that kind of, irritation.
Understood. Thank you.
And I'll just state for the record, it is not my intention to vote against the person being proposed, but I am going to vote no. Again, this is the process. You heard my previous comments, and I'll let it go at that.
Thank you. Any other comments? Take a vote, all in favor? All opposed? Requires an additional vote, which I'll vote for yes. Motion carries. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is our ad hoc housing committee termination. or dissolving. The charge established it, that the charge indicated that the BOS established it, and the charge indicates that the BOS should terminate it. So I'd like to make a motion that we expect to have the new Housing Commission appointed in January. So with that in mind, I will make a motion that we move to dissolve the current ad hoc Housing Committee as of December 31st, 2025.
Second.
So I just wondered if we'd get some clarification. We had, in September of 2024, discussed that all the terms were terminating September 14th, 2025. September 14th, 2025 is come and gone. All the people serving prior to that, their terms had already concluded. Doesn't that already terminate?
Each year, if we, for example, don't appoint people whose terms expire for any other board or commission, those people stay in place as per the charters until such time as others are appointed. So with that in mind, we felt that they were continuing their work, and they were able to, even though their term expired, the committee was still in existence and could only operate with those people whose terms had expired, continuing in those capacities.
So I just a question about that, though, because this was an ad hoc. The piece in the charter, my understanding is the piece in the charter that says board and commission members will serve until replaced is for standing boards and commissions, the chapter 75, I think it is. And that's not where ad hocs come from. And so my understanding was that there was not a serve until replaced. That's why we had terms. That's why we voted on the length of the term.
We have had previous conversations, and we have been operating with ad hocs to reflect the same guidelines that we use for our boards and commissions.
But
We do
not-
that in terms of quorum. We do that in terms of how they have their meetings and what they do at their meetings. We do that with appointments. We do that.
Well, we don't do it with appointments.
We
Ad hocs are appointed by the first selectman.
They are, and when they are, I generally will bring it to the board and say, this is what I'm doing, specifically so the board is
Right, but there's
being
not
made
a vote.
aware of it.
But they don't have
So-
staggered terms the way our boards and commissions do, so there is not a continuity guaranteed. And when you say that your terms to a group of people who are all on the same term, your term is over on September 15th, that pretty much means that your commission is done, your committee is
It does
done.
not.
It does not,
And it's
because it
very
has,
clear in the charge of the committee that the Board of Selectmen has to take action to terminate the charge, to terminate the committee.
Then
On
why did
ad
we
hoc
make a
committees?
motion?
Clear
We
from
made a
September.
motion
We made a motion in
September.
September, yes, to extend their term.
To
through
September of
4th.
2025.
Indeed, we did, that's what we did, we extended
And so
their
why did we
terms.
not just extend the term again in September
We-
to say
we didn't,
December?
Because we didn't, but
Okay.
we could have, but we didn't.
But the terms did
I
expire.
think you can understand the confusion.
I
There
can,
is,
but I think
but-
it's also
but it is
clear in the
confusion.
charter and in the charge, and so.
It's not clear in the
It's
charter.
not- it's not
It should
clear
go
in
to
the
charter
chart-
revision
charter
to
that-
clarify.
folks, let's be clear about something. We are starting
crystal
to
clear in
end
the charter.
something. We could have this discussion. I understand
Okay.
what your points
So
are.
friendly
But
amendment.
the reality is,
Yeah.
that
Friendly
all we're
amendment.
trying to do is end the committee at this point in time.
Right, so friendly amendment that we actually end it September 15th, 2025.
No. No. I do not accept the amendment.
Okay, but I'd just like it reflected
I
in
didn't
the
even hear
record.
the amendment, I'm sorry.
So
So that we end it,
prorate it
instead of
back.
as of tonight, as of the date we had all their terms expiring.
Though
So
they've met
But they've
every
met.
month
I
since.
know they have, and I'm
That-
unsure of
That wouldn't stop
the
them.
legality of any of it.
No.
Actually, let me just withdraw that.
Thank you.
The,
Done talking about it.
yeah, again, maybe a charter thing regarding ad hoc committees. I'm concerned that the spread of ad hoc committees to do the work of this town that's probably goes beyond what we might otherwise like to see, and then to think of them as being in perpetuity if we don't bother to reappoint them. There may be ad hoc committees that were formed in the 50s that are still out there with people on them that we just don't know about.
Is that the case?
I'm just saying, it doesn't seem that an ad hoc committee
Again,
should-
that is something that
should
would be
require
taken
us
up
to eliminate
and can
it.
be taken up as a
That
charter.
was the charge, and that was what was articulated in the charge of this committee. It was that it needs to be terminated by action of the
We
board of
spent a
selectmen.
lot of time arguing about how long to extend the charge. You guys originally
Not the
suggested
charge,
that it
but-
be, no, the terms in office, you originally suggested that they just be open-ended, and we said, no, they need a date. We picked that date with purpose. We missed that deadline, and we didn't bother extending it. My impression was that they
actually,
were not going to meet after
It had
that.
less to do with deciding on their terms and had more to do with deciding on how long it would take us to complete the
Housing commission.
ordinance for a housing commission.
Which we knew in
Which was,
September.
which we knew would take some time. So we
Right.
extended it, not knowing specifically that it would get done by then, but suggesting that it would. So there was never an intent, from my perspective, to say, as of this date, these people will no longer be allowed to meet, to continue these are good people. These are people who are trying to do
Yes,
good
this
things
is
for
not
the
about
town.
the people at all.
Yeah.
Not
So,
about the
so, and all we're talking about now is actually dissolving the committee so that it can become a commission. There's a motion on the table, and I think there's a second.
Yes.
So that's the point at hand. So, with
And it said
that,
in the original charge that it had to be by action of the Board of Selectmen.
correct, correct. So to that end, the motion is for us to dissolve or terminate the ad hoc housing committee as of December 31st, 2025. All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Mika, related to ad hocs, and we've talked about this in the past, I would very much appreciate it if the board can assess every ad hoc that we have, its relevancy, its need to exist or not, and call out what isn't needed anymore.
That's
Leave.
that's a power granted by the charter for this Board of for this first selectman in terms of appointing ad hoc committees. So that's a discussion I'm happy to have.
Yeah, we've
And-
already had it
So-
in some extent with sustainability versus, or cultural and community versus DEI, like,
I understand.
Yeah.
And it's something that I will take a look at to see what we have, and it is something that, as is my general way of doing things, bring it to the board and for discussion and see what we can do with it.
Thank
It does seem a little inconsistent that the first selectman can appoint ad hoc committees at their discretion, and then we have to have a board vote to
Well, David, that's
disband it.
because this
one had a
this one
charge.
very specifically said that that's what it had to be.
Understood.
Otherwise, we had the discussion. It's once we looked at the charge, otherwise it would have been done
Yeah.
differently. So,
thank you.
thank you. The next item on the agenda is the Administrative Officer's Report.
Thank you. The first is the monthly report, which consists of a slight year-end surplus, about $70,000, which brings our fund balance to just under $9 million, or a little under 15% of our annual expenditures. Some revenue highlights for you. Our charge for services will have a shortfall of about $60,000, mainly due to the lost income from the Child Center. There's also an anticipated shortfall of $60,000 in transfer station fees. Okay, so those are the two shortfalls in charge for services. And other revenues, the Woodbridge Board of Education received a payment of $69,373 from the City of New Haven for expenditures related to the prior year. And so we recognize that in the current year as a revenue. And additionally, the board anticipates roughly $10,000 in tuition payments from BOE staff, which we did not put in the budget at the time, we did not know about. So that gives you your surplus in that revenue item of about $79,000.
I'm sorry, Tony, tuition revenue from Board of Ed staff or school district staff?
It's from the school
Teachers.
district.
Teachers who have their
Teachers
kids'
who have their
tuition.
children in the
Okay.
school, correct.
All right.
Yep.
Yeah, not Board of Ed members.
Not the Board of Ed members, no.
Thank you.
They wouldn't need to pay tuition, I
Yeah,
suppose.
well,
Oh, maybe, I don't know.
no, definitely not.
On the expenditure side, really the main item is the police contract, which we are currently working through and hope to have our the retroactive pay done actually this week. So next month I should have a full calculate the impact of that, and we also are hiring a as deputy chief, as Mika indicated earlier. And we have filled one of the 3 vacant positions. There's 2 more. And there's some timeline on that. They're actually filling quickly now that we have a revised contract. So that's good news. And so I'll have all that sort of put together for your next meeting. Some of the funding for that may come from the Amity School District, who is reporting an estimated $305,000 reduction from our March 2026 payment, which is from their 25 operations. So they have an estimate from their 25 operations. They go through their audit cycle, and then that's roughly 6 months. And then, so usually by the end of the fiscal year, we know about the, if there's a surplus, and then that gets applied to our March payment.
Thank
Those
you.
are the highlights, okay.
You moving on, or do you want me to announce it?
Oh, the funding requests?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, I thought you were going to announce it.
Next item on the agenda is the funding request.
First funding request is
We're creatures of habit,
2526-04. This is a request to transfer $8,744 in early voting grant funds to the registrar's voters' budget to offset election worker expenses for early voting.
Tony, can I ask a question about early voting as it pertains to this? Is it required by statute that it be 2 weeks or however long that it is?
Yes.
Do we have any autonomy to reduce the time?
None.
However, I can tell you the Council of Governments has brought it forth to our legislature specifically to see what can be done
Okay.
to improve on that.
It's
That
a
would-
common theme in many of the other municipalities.
Correct.
and
I'd
finance
imagine so,
directors, I
because
think.
it's
Particularly the
horribly
Smaller ones,
expensive.
yeah.
and-
Or larger ones too,
And
because they have more
burdensome to our
locations.
registrars.
We
Yeah.
wanted to do it for referendum. Imagine if we had to do it for the Amity budget referendum every year too, originally, when the
No.
legislation was up.
No, I
So
can't
it is-
even,
it
don't
is
even
a-
make me think about
it
that.
That's what I'm saying.
We hope that there will be legislation that will be
Yeah.
considered for this, but no, that we have no choice.
All right,
I've heard
thank
that
you.
the Town Clerks Association
Is
is
also-
Yeah, the
letting it
registrars.
known that
Everybody.
it's too long.
All right.
Pennell and
Some
Anna are
towns
joining
have
like boards
more
Yeah.
and getting
abbreviated
involved.
hours, is that not flexible, or is that also?
Not
in
to
the-
my knowledge, David.
No, all of it was set.
Yeah, they would, yeah,
By
it
staff,
was
state
very
statute.
specified in terms of, I know it was very clearly
They are.
specified in terms of ours, so I expect that it's for everyone.
Yeah.
Including those longer days on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Right.
So everything was set.
Yeah. Remember reading about the longer days, I just didn't know if you had to start at the same time.
Do I have a motion for this funding request?
So moved.
Second.
Any
I have
other-
another question about the
Please.
TPZ funds.
Well, this is just for the transfer.
This is
Oh,
the
just for
grant.
that one?
Just
Yeah.
for the
Okay,
single
I'm
one,
sorry.
yeah.
Yes.
My mistake.
All in favor? Motion carries.
Next.
Next item, Tony?
2526-05, $16,926. This is for building maintenance, to put additional funds into their repair and maintenance account. They've had some unanticipated expenditures that are sort of out of the norm that they didn't anticipate. This included some remedial asbestos work remaining at the center building. And the air conditioning at the 911 room for the police department also failed, and some library HVAC work. So the maintenance department was able to cover that from projects that were, where we had funds that were no longer necessary. So it's essentially within their budget, although they're capital projects.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion or questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
Third request is 2526-06. This is $15,000 for, as requested by the Town Plan and Zoning Commission, to fund additional work by SLR to complete the POCD as outlined in the attached contract amendment, which I provided in the funding request.
Why are we paying SLR more money?
So let's get a motion and a,
You
get
can
a motion
certainly
and a
discuss
second.
it.
Okay,
You don't have to approve it.
yeah.
Let's get a motion and a second.
Thank you.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second it.
What was the motion to approve?
Oh,
No.
no, I hope not,
Well,
just to
that's what-
discuss,
To discuss.
You
to
can't just-
discuss.
Well, actually, no, we have to, you're right. We have
So-
Well,
to,
I don't want a
Take that
motion
back.
to approve
then
this.
don't,
Yeah.
then don't.
Withdraw the
I
My
withdraw
mistake.
Draw
my
them out.
motion.
Yeah, I haven't.
Yeah,
No,
thank you.
it's off.
Thank you. What happens if nobody wants to move?
I'll make the motion to approve. We don't have to necessarily get a second, but I'll make the motion to approve. Is there a second? Is there a second?
If you don't want to, don't.
Well, that doesn't mean I'll vote in favor of this, but I'm happy to second the motion so that we can move on to discussion. Second the motion.
To that end, Tony, we'll need a couple of explanations on this, but let's start off, if you don't mind. If this motion doesn't carry, what happens? So everyone understands what the process is, should it not
That's a
happen?
good start.
So-
Good kickoff.
That's what we need to.
We get sued.
Right, and there will be, as indicated in the text, these items they will not have assistance to complete the items in the contract amendment. They being town plan and zoning.
They've done most of these.
Yeah,
things
they have done most of the
already.
work already. The VOCD is completed, so would be monies that they feel they were worked for and hasn't. I'll go on to say that I do know from having conversations with Chris that there was significant time that they put in regards to working with the information that was sent to them in regard to the changes, the input from not only the Board of Selectmen, but the input from the public and the other input that they received. So that it's a consultant who had to work with them in order to input in that. I've been told that the POCD, I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, so
but,
that's hard to
okay,
even trust, isn't it?
So there's, the other option here is to table this. That's
could.
the other
Yeah.
option
Let's
is to
table
table
it.
this.
Certainly
Can I
table
ask
it.
another question? If there were additional funds in that contract that were needed, was this something that was built into the original contract that was voted on, or
No.
No.
did they take
This is
the,
not from the original contract.
No, this is as a
So-
result of the,
right, of them
additional
going
work
back,
required.
but wouldn't we have had to look at that before it came as a funding request?
what's that? The work that they were,
The additional.
The additional proposal,
Yeah, did
For
anyone?
additional
This
funds.
does seem a little backwards, right, procedurally?
Other than the members of the TPZ.
They don't have a contract. right?
We wouldn't approve the contract amendment until the funding was in place. That's
there hasn't been a contract amendment, I can tell you that.
There's no contract amendment because there's no funding for any contract.
So then legally, we're not required to pay this.
I'll retract my motion.
No.
And your second. And what I'd like to do is, I have not had an opportunity, I've been away for a couple weeks myself, so I have not had an opportunity to get into any depth and any detail as relates to what this is. I can tell you that between Chris and the TPZ, the chair of the TPZ, what they originally were looking for is an additional $24,000, and after scrutinizing what the work was done, they reduced it down to 15. So we can get some more detail on this, and we can bring it up at another time with more detail and have some additional discussion on it.
I appreciate that, Mika. You could argue that this work was only required because they did such a poor job
We did argue that.
with the original,
Right.
We did argue
So-
that, or we made the
the
point.
tax,
We made the
but,
point.
yeah, so.
So generally speaking, though, if a department in the town does not have it in their budget, they can't enter into engagement that obligates the town without the funding.
Correct.
Which is why we're here tonight.
Which is why we're here and which is why there's no signed contract amendment.
And I see that it's coming from contingency, so obviously it's not in their budget. So they didn't have authorization SLR didn't have authorization to work. And I think that deliver of the final document must be in the base contract. So I wouldn't think they'd be able to hold hostage their document. So, notes going forward, I guess.
More so,
I'm sure the members of the TPZ.
make the motion that we table this until we get some additional information?
second,
Well,
do you need a
everyone's
second?
I do
retracted
need a
their
second.
motions. There's no motion
I
for
retract
this funding request per se.
I retracted my original motion.
Yes, so there currently is
No
no
motion.
motion for
And I
this
am
funding
making a
request.
motion that we table this request until we are provided additional information.
So
Second.
just for purposes of, we did discuss it, and they may be interested, and so they should see it under discussion. We had a motion that we were discussing, now your motion to table
Right, so I would
can
say with
happen
that.
now. So
Yes,
keep your
I'm gonna
motion,
keep your motion,
and we'll table it.
discussion, motions to table.
Can't take it back
Till
after we
the,
Got it.
discussed it.
okay,
Thank you.
got it.
I vote.
All in favor?
And we're tabling it
To
table.
until,
I until we get the
tabling motion.
information we
Till-
need to make an informed decision.
Okay.
It
Just
will
table.
likely be on our next, at our next, our next regular
Okay.
Board of Selectmen meeting.
All right.
Maybe they'll come and present.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
Well,
That'd
the
be-
an update on the final TC is on your regular January that
like
was
the town,
put on
yes.
there, so,
That should be a public hearing.
great.
Bring all the animals in.
Okay, 252607.
This was, the one thing I'll say before I close this is, this was an unprecedented event in us rejecting what we did. So that I say that because we're in uncharted territory in terms of what's required and how it goes and what needs to be done. I am tabling this very specifically because I do not feel that I've presented you, and I have certainly not seen myself, enough information for us to make a qualified decision on it. Not necessarily that I feel it's completely inappropriate or anything along those lines. So I just wanted to be clear on that. Thank you. Next one, Tony?
This is 2526-07. The request is for replacement of 10 gas meters by the fire department. They are 8 years old. They are starting to fail. I believe the chief was going to request these in his budget for next year, but in light of the fact that they started to fail, he's requesting that a few of them be replaced early.
607.
So this, just as a question, this is a big number. I was trying to figure out what this product is. I was looking it up for the price, and this is a big number to ask at this time.
Okay.
For $24,000. I mean, obviously, I want them to have the equipment that they need, but $24,000 is a big number at this time of the year. I guess I'd be curious from your standpoint on the budget how this.
So it certainly
this
has an
sits.
impact on the contingency and makes us less flexible throughout the rest of the year. My only hesitation was because they're meters to detect carbon monoxide and other things that seemed more of an urgent need than, say, something else.
Is this,
Whether different types of meters or other models of the meter or more information on this particular one, I could certainly get for you, and you can revisit that at a later date if you're more comfortable with that. Or have the chief come and explain it in more detail.
I mean, I guess it would be nice to have a little more information on this.
Sure.
Listen, I obviously want them to have the materials that they
Right.
need. I get that. I just seeing that it's 10 meters and do all these 10 need to be replaced right now, and just the $24,000 number is a big number. So
Right.
I mean, and that also means they're 2,307,
There's also
a piece, and that seems like a
docking
lot.
station, right? To put 'em in.
right. So
They
the
charge
docking
them.
station has a cost.
Right.
And so are these
Gotcha.
different than what we've used before? Because it's 10 meters and a docking station. I just
Okay.
for this I would just love to have more information about
Certainly.
it because it's just there's not a lot in
Absolutely.
here.
Yep.
So
I'm happy to do that.
can I just ask,
And then
I think we
needs-
referenced this, that it was something that they had presented and intended to have in a future budget. Was it something that they presented on this already?
No,
Okay.
they were going to put it in next year's budget.
So it was going to be presented in the operating
In
budget
the
coming?
right, upcoming few months, right?
So and then the note says they need 7 more meters as well
Right. So there's,
for fiscal year 27
This was for 4 meters, this
for
23,000?
10 meters.
10
10 meters and a docking station.
23,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
And a docking station.
And the docking station. So
I'm just concerned that if this is a life and safety issue and we're putting it off.
no, that's why I was like I don't want to put this off, and I want to understand better exactly what we're
Right.
dealing with because
So-
it is a big number.
So
And
procedurally, let me ask this question. If we were to forward this still has to go to the Board of
Board
Finance?
of Finance, correct.
So we could say that we're forwarding this to the Board of Finance. It's our agreement that if this is necessary and we're going to have additional information, that way we're not delaying it. I think I would be more comfortable.
When's their meet? When do they meet the
Next Thursday.
Next
Next
week
week from
Next
tomorrow.
Next week,
Next week.
yeah. And
And you
so,
want me to get the additional information for that meeting?
yes.
Yeah, I think
Yes,
that would
so-
be great.
Okay.
That's
so
I
let
agree
me
with that.
add that to the motion, I
Yeah.
guess.
But part of
Yeah.
the process requires the Board of Selectmen also approve the
Yeah, well, we
request.
could
I think
approve
we
it.
You have
approve
to
it now.
approve the
Yeah.
full amount.
We approve it now, and it can always be adjusted
think-
by the Board of Finance. If it turns out, oh, we only have to do half. I just am concerned that we're
So is-
making life
Is
and
the
safety
concern
issues
the
here.
full amount of 23,000, or is the concern amount of each individual item? And I don't mean concern, is the question or the missing information and capabilities of the devices themselves individually. In other words, are there devices that are less than $2,300 each that can be used, or is the issue the $23,000 itself?
All the above.
All of the above,
I think
okay.
if they can say, this is why it has to be what it is here, or it could be adjusted, the Board of Finance will have the power to adjust it down if we approve this amount.
Mhm.
And they may have to adjust it down.
And I could certainly see if the chief could provide additional information and even perhaps be available for the meeting when we have it with the Board of Finance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the motion would be to approve the amount contingent on the approval of the Board of Finance in terms of
With
the
additional
Funding
with
request
detail.
contingent
It's
on
always
the approval of
contingent.
the Board of
It
Finance,
always is,
technically,
but
right?
specifically with additional information provided to the Board of Finance to clarify the details of the purchase.
Okay.
That's the
Sounds good.
motion. That
We
sounds
have a
like
first
that's
and
our
a-
motion.
That was my motion.
That was
All right, I'm
okay.
gonna second.
That's all I need.
Got
The
that?
transcript.
So is there a
I'll
second?
transcribe this later, and it'll do the
And that's just so
recording.
nobody
I
else
just
has to
need another
repeat it.
record.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Is there anyone else? I'm sorry, is there a second?
Sheila said.
Oh, you did, thank you,
Yeah,
Sheila.
got it.
Any additional discussion? All in favor? Thank you.
The final, this is the final one, yeah.
Yeah.
Is for a request for a replacement of a UPS that failed at the RWA radio tower, which is on the Regional Water Authority property. The UPS, we're actually using a loaner because the existing one failed. The UPS powers up all the radio equipment in the events of a power outage, so it's a very important piece of equipment and was an unforeseen failure.
But it's ours, even though it's on RWA?
Yes, because they allow us to put our equipment on their property.
Okay.
It provides us with one of our many, 4 radio sites. that we have.
Okay.
So it creates the simulcast system.
So we have UPSs
They have
on
them on
all
all
of
sites,
the
yeah,
towers?
right.
Okay.
And as far as I know, I could ask the question, the others are okay. It's just this one particular one.
Can I ask, this is just a request for when these come in, it'd be great to have some of the,
The spec sheets and stuff.
no, well, spec sheets are nice, but the acronyms be spelled out.
Oh,
I don't
sure,
know if
yeah.
everyone knows what the UPS
Sure.
or the
I
RWA.
had-
So I don't know what the
Uninterrupted
UPS
power
is.
supply.
Right.
There you
For
go,
the
at
Regional
Water Authority,
Very
yes,
good.
for the fire department, police
But yes,
department, and
I
public
will
works.
definitely do
But
that.
like, it's just nice for some of these documents to have those things written out, so
Certainly.
they're in the record and they read for people.
Okay, absolutely.
Yes, there's that.
So this comes out of contingency. Is it ever something that's built into fire department and police
It
departments?
could be if it's, if we're later in the year.
Okay, and they know in
And we know,
advance.
like, for instance, these 3 accounts will have some money left over, then yes, we
Okay.
would do that. Or if we could wait on this, we would maybe wait a few months, but this one, we're using a
We
loaner,
can't.
so.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'll make the motion to approve the funding request.
second.
Any additional discussion?
Not a rental, we're not paying to use it.
All in favor? Motion carries.
I think we should get a permanent loan.
Thank you.
Cheaper.
Tony, I think we're next on bid waiver requests.
So on the 18th, the town of Woodbridge runs we do this every year. It's a bid for fuel, which is gasoline, diesel, and for, we're doing heating oil. How many entities have heating oil? I think it's a few. 3. So, and the entities involved is, of course, the Woodbridge Board of Education, Amity Regional School District, Bethany, Town and Board, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, the Orange is,
Yes.
right?
In Region 16.
And Region 16. And so we put together the bid for all those communities and boards of education and for those 3 fuel items. And so because we pick a lock-in price, the price floats on the market, and so we have to lock it in within an hour or the price will lose the price. So historically, and every year you would give the authorization for Nika and I to lock into the lowest price that's acceptable.
Fun process.
Sounds like kind of playing roulette. One-arm band.
It reminds me of the trading floor.
We typically get 3 or 4 or 5 bidders that are all, they come at the last minute and they have to change the price. could see it was, they crossed it off.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve the.
So it's to authorize Tony and the first selectman to lock in fuel prices?
Yes.
Okay. Second?
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any questions? Any comments? Any? All in favor? Motion carries.
The last item on the agenda is the animal control donation policy. And so we have two areas of town that we get some somewhat significant donations. One is the Resident Assistance Fund, which we have a policy for, and it's got its own separate accounting fund to keep track of it. As we started to increase our animal control donations, in particular, the animal control was left, it's about $8,000 in a will from someone who left it to the animal control function. So we thought it was appropriate for us to create this policy, which you have in front of you, which essentially outlines the types of donations would be accepted, the eligible donations, what they would be used for, who has the authority to accept and spend these donations. I think it's also important to point out that the donations are made directly to the town of Woodbridge, and that you cannot make a donation to another entity on behalf of the town of Woodbridge. So I think that's an important aspect here. As in the past, occasionally donations were made to for vet bills and directly to the vet. And so we think it'd be more appropriate for the town to collect the donations and then pay for the vet bill. A lot of these are tend to be for animals that are abused or within the towns that we service, and we do not have the budget for in the operating budget to pay for. Some of them could be quite costly, and people are very generous about donating funds for that. Yeah. So.
And there have been a few cases just as of late, which really prompts us to really makes us more important, because we did recognize some people who were very generous in terms of our number of people who were generous enough to help us with this. So we just wanted to make sure there was a process that's auditable.
And just a clear and transparent process as to the counting of the donations, who has the authority to accept them and to spend them. And so we have a process here, which would be the police chief and the finance director up to $10,000, and then after that, the approval of the police commission. And then it just creates an animal control donation fund that will keep track of these.
This is a proposal? This isn't currently?
It's not being currently done. As we're starting to get more donations, we felt it was appropriate to put this in place so that we can better keep track of the donations.
Do we qualify as a 501c3?
We
or
do
some
not.
sort of tax
I like
exempt?
this. I put it in here because I always give the same response to people who ask me. The town does not provide tax advice. Donors should consult their own tax professionals to discern the deductibility of any donation.
Now that you mentioned 501(c), it is something we also are looking at. How if there's anything we can establish not related to this. This is just general. So.
Well,
Because there are.
Like a Friends of the Animal Control. Like,
Well, no, not
Friends of the
related.
library.
Friends of the
Friends,
library.
similar,
Yeah, like-
but a true town 501(c), where if
There
people,
was.
there are people who would like to give
Friends of the
different
animals.
elements of the town. For example, for school, they might want to do a reading program, and they might want to donate for that, or something along those lines. Or they might want to, they might want to donate something to the town.
Mika knows in the town that I live in, we have the Westbrook Foundation.
Right.
And it's a foundation that contributes to many causes throughout the town, throughout the Board of Education. It's got a board, and it's set up as a 501c3.
And a lot of people prefer to provide the dollars, to provide dollars to a 501(c) as opposed to otherwise.
So if we do this policy, though, that doesn't preclude the standing up of a foundation?
Correct,
Well, yeah, and ideally, a foundation would then contribute money to this fund.
correct.
Oh, this
For-
would be where their funds would come in?
Correct.
Okay. That makes a little more sense.
Yeah.
Particularly if you're talking about tax exempt or, forming tax exempt entities to support these kinds of things. May want to look at point number 5 in the acknowledgement. The if you get a charitable donation of goods or services, or any kind of, somebody gives you a truck, whatever,
Mhm.
it's up to them to get it praised, not the recipient. And I think that's kind of that may put you into a little bit of conflict with that proposal, because there's obviously, a 501c3 receiving a donation of an old junker, and writing out a thing saying, oh yeah, that's worth $20,000, may be great for the donor, but it's fraud. And so you don't want to be in that game.
Thank you.
I have two questions or perhaps comments. First, I'll say I'm very glad to see this. So thanks for your work on this, Tony.
Okay.
But pertaining to under the authority to accept, I see the police chief may allow animal control officers to accept donations. What policy or procedures are in place for that?
So the police chief would put in his general orders, this would go in his general orders, and then he's developing procedures to sort of outline when he would or would not do that. I didn't put them in here because this would just be part of their general orders.
Okay, so there will be a mechanism or a protocol rather in place that would require the officers to document the donations they've accepted.
Right.
I just want to ensure
It would be in.
transparency and
Right.
not to assume the worst, but to make sure nothing's pocketed ultimately.
Of course, yeah, right.
So I think it'd be
And
important.
he can decide that he doesn't want them to
Yeah,
to accept donations.
correct. It's at his or her discretion.
Right.
And then in lieu of a police chief, who would that be? Like if, let's say the police chief is retired and there's a vacancy, or out on workman's comp or something. I don't know if we need to spell that out.
Well, shouldn't that be in their policies, who acts?
Probably.
Well, the finance director.
Or the finance
It would
director
just
is also
default to the
also-
finance.
Yeah, it would just default to the finance.
Okay. And then the other.
And it says and, not or.
Oh, so both.
So it's intended to be a collaborative sort of effort.
But it says only the police chief may allow animal control officers. That's how I read that.
Right.
Yeah.
That's correct. I meant the to accept the donations.
Yes, yeah, which is great, but I'm just saying, if
Yeah.
a police chief isn't occupying a seat,
Someone's always acting.
yeah, okay.
You'll go with that one.
But I just want to make sure there's something in place.
I will mention that to him.
And then similarly, and I understand thresholds.
And it would mostly be donations and not necessarily financial, and maybe that's part of his description. But
Okay.
but like blankets and
Sure.
Dog food people drop
food
off.
and
Yeah,
collars
yeah.
and stuff like that.
Sure.
That he may or
But
may
that
not
stuff
know
still
is
needs
necessary.
to be documented.
No, of course, but he may defer to them in terms of, well, what do we actually need?
Yeah.
So it says the in-kind, including cat items, cleaning products,
Right.
can be made directly to the shelter. It sounds like they bypass this process, and you go right to
Okay.
the shelter. It says, please contact the
Part-
shelter.
Right, which is part of the their discretion to accept them.
Oh,
Okay. And is there oversight? Well, just want to make sure there's oversight to ensure things are happening the way they are
Right.
intended to be happening by the people donating the goods.
Right, of course.
So Andrea, can I suggest, the Personnel Committee, I know we have an outstanding item to revisit how things are going. Maybe this is part of that discussion when it comes time.
Yes, though I
If you
have been
continue serving on
informed
personnel, I
that
don't know.
it's really not in the jurisdiction of the Personnel Committee to discuss animal control.
Not in the, no. If we were hiring a new animal controller, changing salaries or doing something like that, it is.
Okay.
What's not in there is HR
Oh,
type,
related.
take
okay.
HR and, for example,
So would what
disciplinary.
Sheila said
things.
fall in the acceptable?
No, I think you're right. I don't think it would fall.
Okay.
I don't think it would fall in
Okay.
there specifically because that's more, along the
Management,
lines. Yes, that's
within.
more the HR admin.
Okay, and then Tony, similarly, oh yeah, go ahead.
If it would, I could certainly put in there something about setting up regulations or something, if you think it would,
I mean,
if you, I don't mind.
I think just outlining what oversight would be.
yeah,
Yeah,
what
just-
the oversight would be, I think
Okay.
would be
Chief
two
helpful.
reasons.
The chief will
One-
outline oversight, yeah, I could do that.
Yeah.
And then with expenditures, I'm not really familiar with the town's purchasing policy or the nitty gritty of the purchasing policy. Certainly makes sense to have the threshold above 10,000, should have the approval of, the police commission of the police commission. What about things under 10,000?
It would be the police chief and the finance director.
Okay, so it's still, every dollar needs to be approved?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. It has to go through our,
So
it's gotta go
so
through our.
something for even $15 would need to be approved by?
Correct.
Okay,
Correct, because we have a process,
okay,
purchasing process where, if it's over a certain amount, you have to do a purchase order, but if it's not, the invoice or the expenditure still has to get approved by the police chief, then he sends it over to here, and then I have to
Okay.
approve it, and it's this multi-layered
okay,
process. Somebody can't just go out and spend money. Okay.
thanks.
Maybe like the TPZ.
So is this more or less considered, this is like a first read of policy? Maria would be familiar with this from Board of Ed. Usually you bring it, you get some input, you come back and get the final vote, or do you want the final vote today?
Well, the only reason is because we just received that check, $8,000 from the,
Okay, you want the final vote.
so I was hoping to be able to create this fund and deposit the check.
Can we make the vote contingent upon
Sure, yep.
whatever notes you took?
Yeah, you can fine tune it later.
And
Yeah.
the most important thing is the creation of the fund
Yeah.
at the
Yeah,
end.
yeah,
So I could create the fund, deposit the funds, and then it's got its own.
yeah. And will the funds
With
be
the
invested
intent-
at all?
They're just invested generally with our, this won't earn interest.
Okay,
The interest is earned by the general fund,
Oh.
unless you set up a trust or some other mechanism to earn interest.
What about like a high yield savings? So what are
We have a
tools?
variety of things that we invest in.
I was just gonna mention to Allison, to please make sure we send this out to the board, these board members, once Tony finalizes the document, so there's, and also send a copy, put it in the agenda put it in the packet for the next board as well.
But there's gonna be change, we're
There's gonna,
editing.
after Tony makes
It's
the
the
changes, so
change
that
on
everyone
the, it's
has,
the change, so we're clear,
so
it's the
everyone's
change on
We
aware
already
of
have
what the
this
change
copy.
is.
the change on the oversight.
Correct,
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
okay.
so are we voting?
So do I have a motion for us to proceed with this?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any additional discussion? All in favor? Motion carries. Thank you. Next item on the agenda, I must make a correction. This is not a CMed service contract. This is the American Medical Response Service contract that we've had with them, that we discussed at our last meeting. So the CMed services is not correct on there, so I just wanted to make sure that that was duly noted. And what we're looking for here is, Tony, I'll let you explain what the particulars are of it, and at the end, we are looking for a motion to move forward with that agreement.
The proposal is for the existing contract to remain in its structure, in its language, and simply to add a one-page amendment to extend the current contract for a 3-year with an option for a 4th year. Year 1 would be a 2.5% increase. Year 2 would be a 2.75% increase. Year 3 would be a 2.75% increase. And year 4 would be negotiated at the time of the extension if both parties agree to the extension.
Tony, when does the contract expire?
It expires December 31st of
So
this
this is
month.
time sensitive?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
We talked about this at our.
Yeah, I remember talking about it. But since then, I've learned a little, and I just have a question.
Okay.
But do we need to make a motion?
I'll start with I'll ask
Yeah.
for a motion initially.
So I make a motion that we move forward with this, we approve this contract.
Is there a second? Thank you.
Okay.
We
Okay,
don't
thank you.
have the contract here, right?
So to my understanding, and Tony,
contract, or-
please
No, but
correct,
it was given, it was distributed previously.
Previously, that's what I thought, okay.
in our last meeting, I think.
Yeah.
Go to the November file.
Okay, Thanks. That'll help.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but some municipalities have their own, I don't know if it's called an authorization or a license or a
Correct.
state issued,
Correct.
and what is the correct term, just so I
License.
We refer to it as a license.
as a license. Woodbridge currently does not, correct?
Correct.
And that's in part why we're contracting with AMR. And, no?
Well, we're contracting with AMR because of the service they provide and how we've been happy with their service and their.
If we had a license, would Woodbridge have more flexibility in choosing who responds?
It would be easier to switch
Contracts.
contracts.
Okay.
But that license was given away by the town many
How long-
years ago.
Yeah.
2001,
And what was the reasoning for that?
because the town switched from its having its own ambulance to providing an ambulance with AMR.
Is having your own ambulance a requirement for the town to have a license?
No.
Okay, because from what I'm
But
hearing, and
once
perhaps you can,
once the license was given to AMR back in 2001, we've had discussions a few times throughout the years, and they're not just going to say, here you go. I mean, it's discussion, it's a negotiation.
you mean to get the license? Sure,
Yeah.
it takes some work and,
Right.
It all-
Can I ask you a quick question? Can that happen at any time? If we enter the contract now, which is what we're contemplating, could we begin a discussion to look at getting the license again at any time, or does it have to wait for?
I don't know the answer to that.
And at
Could
this
we-
point, is it too late to even
It probably is.
insert that? Yes. Yeah.
It's
but maybe
too
we
late
can
for-
get an answer to that question?
It's my understanding,
Yeah.
and we will verify. We will verify. But my understanding is that we could. There's very little motivation for them to do it, but we can certainly enter into negotiations and indicate to them that this is something that we're looking at. One of the reasons we have the relationship and we are getting the rates that we're getting from AMR is because they do have that license that would otherwise be ours. If we had the license, it would allow us to arbitrarily decide that we want to go somewhere else outside of the contract that we sign, obviously, but at the time of the contract. So generally speaking, those licensing discussions are had at time of negotiation. So we are somewhat past that, and we haven't been, I and Tony, to Tony's knowledge, and those, and the services, and the commission, the EMS commission, has not determined that there's a significant benefit to us having that license under the current conditions. For the next contract, that could change dramatically,
Yeah.
as it could have for this one. But their performance has been such that certainly we're very happy with it. Their pricing has been such that certainly we're very happy with it. So the relationship as it exists is a solid relationship, and there doesn't seem to be a significant benefit to doing that. Doesn't mean it can't be done, and I think frankly that there's no harm in making sure they understand that that's something we may
Yeah.
want to do going forward.
Yeah, go ahead.
So.
Thank you, Mina.
My understanding of that also is, if, from the presentation that we had in November, there are not a lot of companies that have the scope and the range that
That
AMR
AMR does.
has. So I don't think we're missing better opportunities by not having our license. The one thing that having the license and having that control gives us, which AMR may already have a system in place for, is it gives you some flexibility in coming up with plans for mass casualty incidences, public health emergencies. The town has some flexibility in how that response is coordinated. I would assume that AMR has some type of policy or procedure in place, as most companies do, for those things happening. It might be beneficial for us to find out what that process is.
Yeah, we're part of MedCom.
Yeah, okay.
Which is, MedCom?
Yeah.
Yeah. We're part of MedCom, which is in fact what you just mentioned.
Right.
Ambulance coordination, mass casualty, right.
So that is already in place, and that is one thing that if you had your own license, that would be a coordination you'd have to do on your own, but the system is already in place, so.
Okay. I'm certainly outside of my sphere of expertise here, and I would appreciate maybe engaging the EMS commission to learn a little bit more. But from what I'm understanding is there are new, so much has changed in the medical field, in particular with our hospital systems nearby through consolidations, and now I hear Yale, I think, Yale Hospital or someone nearby is starting
Bought their own
They
ambulance.
bought
a
their
new
own- yeah.
ambulance,
Yes,
and
they
so I think it wise for Woodbridge to reconsider the license approach. I do remember an incident in '24 where it took AMR over 20 minutes to respond on Mother's Day. I know they also service Bethany, and so though I know they've been great contractors, having a license might help, promote accountability and give us some autonomy, which is good when you're managing a contract.
What we'll do for the next, as we move forward, is we'll have EMS come in because we obviously, when we heard about that incident that you're referencing in 2024, it's something that we went to the EMS to see exactly what the particulars were. They gave us the details. So it would be good as we go into, for all of the commissions to come in and start giving us, but EMS in particular, so we understand exactly what the particulars are around some of those types of things and concerns, and they can certainly also address a little bit more on the licensing, as relates to how we want to proceed with this going forward.
Okay.
That's,
I think the service is generally of high quality, at least what we've heard, and that I don't think that there's anybody else out there that we're looking at right now. We're looking to get a contract, right? So, but it does, maybe the next board wants to consider about how that our commission interacts on sort of holding their feet to the fire a little bit better in terms of just things like reviewing those response times, because we get them on a monthly basis, right?
we do.
And
The commission meets now quarterly.
quarterly,
Which we can certainly, it's an easy adjustment. I don't think they'll have a problem with that.
yeah.
Meeting monthly, but we get the statistics on a monthly basis.
Well, it does seem like that would be one thing the commission ought to do. Just go over those statistics and really make sure that AMR knows that somebody's looking at those, so that they have to perform at the level they guaranteed to
AMR is
perform.
at the meeting
Yeah.
when they review these.
Yeah.
They do very much hold their feet to the fire on the different ones.
Yeah.
They need to provide reports on outliers, things like the 20
Yeah.
minutes or anything along those lines. And there's more to that than
I'm sure.
what we said.
I'm sure there is.
But, so they are, but I think it's, I think it's one
But
of
it
those.
does pay to be a squeaky wheel every now and then.
Well, I just want to know.
Just be sure you're,
We had a presentation last month, and with a lot of details in the reports too. It does seem to me like our commission is really on top of this.
well,
and is
except for
evaluating all
those were median times that we got. We didn't get
Right, that's what we
full
got,
detail.
but it was my impression from that meeting is that our EMS commission is very pleased with the service that we're getting, and that they've been very detailed in following up on these at their meetings. I mean, whether meeting monthly or quarterly is appropriate, I think maybe is for them to decide, but it seems like they've been on top of it.
Seems like, but I'm not that confident.
Having
I
them
don't
come
share
in,
your
having them
confidence.
come in and present to the board with the details for any particular month and showing us exactly what they do, think it's a good idea.
And,
It's fine.
and regardless, I just think it's always good to, as things change, to explore the option of our municipal license again, and perhaps they'll say it really isn't, it doesn't behoove us. But I don't,
Understood.
I don't know if they've been considering looking at this stuff through that lens.
We obviously, Tony and myself have the benefit of seeing the detail.
Yeah.
And having reviewed that with them, so that's the reason I'm saying something. I don't think they'll hesitate because they're doing a good job, in terms of what they're doing. So I think it's appropriate and we can make that happen. So,
I also think we, as a small town, would not be able to provide this service at this level of efficiency for the amount of money that we're.
it was incredibly impressive in terms of how
To
they
maintain-
demonstrated that, Maria.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
To maintain personnel, billing, equipment,
Yeah.
I don't,
At
even if
this-
we had
at
our
this-
license,
and
we
at
wouldn't
this
be able
rate.
to provide that
it's
service to the
because we
town
are the
at that
town-
price point.
And because we are the town we are, it's a kind of a mutually beneficial relationship that we have, that we can get the rate we're getting because they get some of the benefits that they get, and us, for us to be able to maintain it with the quality and level of service that we're being provided. So, with that, I will put it to vote. All those in favor of moving forward with the contract? Motion carries. That ends our
So-
agenda items.
Go ahead,
Point
David,
of
you promised.
personal privilege.
Please.
I think I understand that this is the last meeting scheduled of this group, so this would be our final adjournment. So I'd like to make the motion to adjourn.
Okay,
I'd like to
David?
second.
And I want to congratulate you all on getting to the end of this.
And thank you very much for that.
Thank you both for your service.